fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. Do you want to be an American idiot? One nation controlled by the media. Information ain't Travis says. Fuck you, Donald Trump!
Hey everybody, hope you like the new intro today. It was special for this day. Welcome to Rage and Love. We passionately debate, explore, and review topics about religion, science, history, and current events. Dear Americans, and my fellow vicious President Joseph, the State of the Union is strong. There's never been anything like it. Nobody has ever had a union more unioning than this union. Yes, I created the word. Nobody has ever said words before. You can't say words. Only I can say words. Just kidding. We are now relabeling it the State of the Unionless because it's fucking hell in here. But let's get serious, alright? In 1787, the U.S. Constitution was written. And over the next few years, what we refer today as the Union or the United States of America was established. But the way things are going today is it no longer feels like a union. The division grows larger and larger every day among both citizens and between citizens and those elected to protect them. And they should be protecting the Constitution too, but they're not. The constitutional rights of citizens and non-citizens are being violated left and right. And yes, non-US citizens on American soil do have constitutional rights, except for the right to vote, which is reserved for US citizens only. But with these rights being blatantly breached, what can we do to protect ourselves and future generations? One of those things is to stand up. And today's guest knows a lot about standing up. So let's welcome Infidel64.
Hey, welcome.
Hey, how's it going? I just wanted to say that you said all that about words, and all I was thinking the whole time was, quiet, Biggie. No.
Oh man, that's perfect. Oh god, I knew you will have the perfect intro. I love that. That's great.
Well, I've got to say that I'm really glad you guys had me on. So I just want to say it was a pleasure to be here. I've been off doing anything for a while, and I knew that when I was going to do something, this is absolutely where I wanted the first round to be, right here. So thank you.
Well, that's awesome. We feel privileged to have you back.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this for the last year, right? I was like, hey, let's do something, and you're like, no, I'm gonna save it for a special moment. And this feels like that special time. So I'm excited for you to be here. Yeah, we might rage more than love today. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I mean, there's plenty to rage about today.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yes.
No shortage.
Yeah, no shortage of that. Before we get started, I was gonna so I made this cool content creators reel to celebrate Black History Month, and I feel like we need to do that before we do anything. Let's start with the good, and then we'll move to the shit. It's like 2.5 minutes long, so we are just gonna play it, and maybe people will find some new content creators. So it's a reel of content creators, mostly on TikTok and YouTube, who I've enjoyed watching. Their content is really good, and it's so okay. So you know what? I'm gonna I gotta get that the right size because that does not look like the right size. All right, there we go. Okay, cool. Here we go.
Now we have the victory. Equality. In the name of community. Equality. So tell me, who shall stand up with us when we build up that great thing? Community power in community. We have the victory. Community.
Leviticus 25:44-46. You allow the enslavement of foreigners as property for life, and now you expect me, the foreigner, to worship you? Oh, hell no.
Why does Jesus allow people to go through oppression? He took an over 400-year nap during slavery.
But that predates all of this fucking Israelite bullshit. So how the fuck can you say this is your story?
Like,
No.
I'm sorry, but this book that you gave me has the recipe for beef Wellington. Why the hell are they making other stuff? I think you gave us different recipes, God.
I'm asking. Yeah, according to 1 Corinthians 7:22, you are a slave with Christ. So reconcile that, motherfucker.
You don't give a shit. You don't give two fucks. You don't care. And it's fucking obvious. Pride.
So everything is going to hell in a handbasket. But what everyone really wants to know is, did Agent Orange really give Bubba a happy ending?
Miranda says, but we haven't found Jesus's left sock. Checkmate, scholars.
No, love, life, and history are not faith. They're different tools in the toolbox of understanding the world. This is Lace the Black Atheist. I question everything, even myself.
But your support for Black non-believers and our ongoing liberation work and our fight to create community remains crucial.
One thing, don't forget to check your voter registration status, please. This is how change happens, y'all. Let's make our voice heard.
But every time a Democrat wins a swing state, I got to take a shot. So come on in, make sure I'm doing fine, okay?
Hot take, if there is a God and they are gendered, it's definitely a woman, and men definitely came from women's vaginas, not women coming from a man's reg.
Science doesn't reject ideas because they're unpopular. It rejects them because they don't work as well. If a better model shows up, it wins, period.
Why is a fire better than God showing up and speaking up the way he did with Moses?
And if I see something going wrong, I'm going to say something. I don't care who you are. Because if we don't say anything, nothing is going to change. I'm never going to be silent.
I once thought community was built through a name, but I found it means we all share the same flame. As communists, to serve, to give, to be. We on the same ship, sailing through the seas. Same ship, my fellow, same time we ride. Different faces, same heartbeat inside. Not bound by color or gender or creed, but by the lessons that life plants to see. It ain't just a word, it's the way we live. We rise when we live and we heal when we give.
All right. I
really like that.
Yes, was so funny.
Oh, and by
like,
the way,
"You
Black,
captured me." Yeah.
Black Atheist Rants is going to be on the Roots Matter tomorrow.
Seriously, he was just on with Godless Engineer tonight. Right now, they're also live. I think he's great. Yeah, I love him. And he's gonna be speaking at Rocket City Reason, the conference that Godless Engineer is planning for.
Really?
Sometime this year, October, I think. Something like that. Go to the website, rocketcityreason.com, and find out. Yeah. Okay. One more thing before we get started, since we are sharing stuff. I am going to be doing a fundraiser. Well, I'm currently doing the fundraiser, but there's going to be a call-in show on February 19th, which I'm doing on Skeptic Haven with Seth Andrews, and we're going to be raising money for St. Baldrick's, which is an organization that does that donates to childhood cancer research. And so what people do is they raise funds, and then they shave their heads, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to raise funds, shave my head. If you want to see me with a shaved head, you can donate to the fundraiser. Let me get the link real quick, because I should have the link already, of course, but not, because like that's how I do things. But I mean, people can also check that little QR code at the top of the image, and it will take you to the page until I can find the link. Okay, I found it. Totally unprepared, totally unprofessional.
I was gonna say I could share it for you, but I don't think I have it either. So don't feel bad. I'm unprepared too.
Okay, there is in the chat. Scott is saying, "How was shape Joseph's head?"
I don't know. I do need to cut my hair. It's it's grown longer than I wanted, I think. So maybe, but she's braver than me. I'll have to say that.
Yeah, we like. I feel like it's more well seen these days if I have the shaved head rather than you.
They'll think I'm associated with a certain group of people, more or less.
Yeah. Not saying anything against the people that have to have a shave for any type of reason, but
No, but really, it's a really cool organization. AJ's done this before several years back, so I mean it's a really cool thing, and I'm gonna be covering it with my other social media content that I do for local news and so forth. So it's gonna be a really cool event, and I'm excited that she actually chose to pick the organization and to shave her head again. And it's gonna be cool.
yeah, last time I did was 2013 or something like that. Long time ago. It's been a while. Yeah, that was fun. Anyways, so let's talk about the state of the Unionless. What do you think? Well, I look up for a first photo to share. What do you think about all the stuff that's being shared on the official government stuff, not the Trump social thing? Like we'll talk about that in a moment. Trust me. But like, what do you think about all of these insanely difficult to watch posts that they've been posting on their social media? White House, Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, the Health, and all of.
It's wild. I mean, I don't even, some of the stuff I see, I'm like, wow, is this even reality? Is this a Onion account? I mean, it's kind of unbelievable.
You know, it's actually to the point where I see content and it's people who I respect and value their opinion, and I still had to go and say, you know what, I still had to fact check. I had to go fact check something Cynthia posted the other day, and I trust Cynthia like a motherfucker, but I was like, no, that's gotta be wrong, right? And that's where we really are. It reminds me pretty much of, we're literally living the era that George Orwell was writing about. I mean, we're just literally rewriting history in front of us and saying, no, it's not that way. It's something else. It's not that. This is the way it is. This is the way it's always been. And I don't know what you're talking about that it's otherwise. You're the one. And it's just a never ending phase of gaslighting. That's really what it all boils down to.
Like, what are you talking about? That video, no, that's showing you're seeing it wrong. And I'm like,
and it goes beyond just the social media content. I mean, you look at the actual White House Gov website where they completely gaslit and wrote a complete alternative narrative to the January 6th bullshit, and try to reverse like the whole scenario of what actually occurred that day.
Or their whole made up story about how the ballroom, something that we've always been wanting, and finally he's getting it through, and it's all these utterly bizarre things. And once again, I hate to go back to Orwell, but leaning into it once again, we're constantly being lied to, and they're not even, in the past there would be like, okay, we have this crumb of truth and we're going to throw this tiny crumb into it and we're going to bake a cake and we're going to say that the crumb made the cake. Now they're not even pretending. They're not even throwing a crumb in. They're just saying, you know what, we're just going to make shit up because their people are so geared to want to believe what they want to believe that all they do is have to say it and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's it. That's the answer right there. We're good. It wasn't what we thought it was. Your eyes are lying to you, AJ. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
what's wrong with you.
that Orwell quote that says the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. That's it.
Yeah, we're at that point. We're already there. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's wow.
Look over here, not over there. Jesse Riverbank said, "Yeah, it's crazy." So,
Again, though, and how they feed off patriotism too. You have, some of these social media accounts for the government, like for the
oh
Department of
yeah, the
Defense and so forth.
videos.
Yeah, I mean, it's extreme how they try to say that you can only be patriotic or stand for America if you agree
Yeah.
with that propaganda that they're pushing.
Okay, this one was posted around the holidays on the White House. I'm sorry, in the Department of Homeland Security page, the official, obviously, and it was given that whole we'll pay you $2,600 to go home, whatever that is, and then this one was posted more recently, and it seems like a little bit of a subliminal message to me. It says receive free flight home and 2,600 exit bonus when you use CBP home to self deport. Something like it's a benevolent offer from Americans and that will spare you the hassle of deportation. And it's like you're gonna will set you up for a great life wherever you came from, and that is ridiculous to me. But also, like, before I get into that, the image itself makes you feel like we know they're religious, right? And it feels a little bit like go fucking die, go to heaven.
Is that supposed to be heaven? I mean, is that like the portal into heaven?
Right? I don't know. When I first,
the hazy fog look that is that's giving off there the vibes, I guess.
yeah, it's giving off the vibes of like they're saying go home or die, or go home and die, which is pretty much the only two options that they're being given.
Well, and that's the thing that I think that most people, it took a while for them to understand, is that they literally don't care. We can say, hey, you're harming people, because yes, they're obviously harming people. Not just and not that non-citizens don't have the right to not be harmed needlessly, but they're harming American citizens, they're harming immigrants, and they just literally do not care. It's about achieving a goal, and let's be honest, for them that goal is a whiter America. There's no getting around that fact. And when you understand that that's always really been a goal for many people in this country, sometimes some of the things that we're experiencing aren't nearly as new as we'd like to pretend they are. I think that, I think that as a white person, if I've had the privilege of not having to recognize and grow up in a certain life, but the truth is that this is like the goal. They've been working for this for 50 years, and a lot of this is a lot longer, and here we are. But
and you know what? They started with Black people.
Yeah,
the police, like all of this authoritarian sort of idea and control and rounding up Black folks by the police, killing them just in the street like that for absolutely no reason. It has, despite the fact that the racists don't give a shit, it has sort of normalized it for the other side. We are numb to it. And it's been happening for so long, and Black people have been warning us for so long, that now it's just like, it's just another day on the streets, And so then it starts happening to people who have lighter brown skin, right? What ICE is doing. And then eventually it was like, oh, okay, they're deporting out these brown people. All right, fine. Then they add a bunch more of these ICE agents, if we can even call them that. And now they're literally murdering white people, U.S. citizens who happen to be white, on the streets. And there was more outrage because they were right, I think. But I don't think that there's been enough outrage throughout any of it. So it's like we've gotten to this point where it's kind of like, okay, it's happening. I don't know. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of that normalization aspect, that what would have completely outraged people in the United States 10 and 15 years ago doesn't now. Obviously, I have to say that if we would have seen what we've seen even in the Bush administration, Bush 43, you know, they'd have done something about it, because the American people wouldn't have stood for it. But as you said, we've been so normalized to this that now we're seeing literally American citizens get killed in the streets, and we're like, oh well, you know, they shouldn't have brought a gun. You know, they should have obeyed. You know what? You know, she practically ran that guy over.
Yeah.
You know, okay.
Like, how dare you exercise 2 constitutional rights at once? Who are you?
Now you sound woke.
Do you think you live in America or what?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Adrian says, don't forget they used to shoot us, shoot black people with water hoses. At least I've warned people for years about the radical racist Caucasians. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the calls out from MAGA in comment sections. You know, they're all like, why don't you just shoot them with water cannons? And it's like, yeah.
Oh yeah, they really push out,
practice.
especially with the cold weather. They were pushing them to do that in Minnesota and so forth. So yeah, I mean, it's the tactics for them to push back and try to keep us from expressing our constitutional right to protest is it's kind of scary. The way that they're trying to make anyone who stands up against the government to speak their voice and doesn't agree with the narrative that they're pushing, we're domestic terrorists now.
Yeah,
which is extreme.
I mean, that was one of our most basic fundamental rights as an American citizen, is the right to disagree. I mean, that's, if you don't have the right to disagree, you don't have shit. I mean, that's really the most important one, is to say, no, I don't agree with that. But, you know, they want to say, love it or leave it. And I can't tell you how many people I've had scream at me from cars, you know, that same sentiment. And it's like, no, I'm doing the most American thing I can do. I'm saying, hey, this is not okay. This is what you should be doing. Something's wrong with you.
Yeah, I've been covering some of the protest stuff that goes on here in the area where we live here in Texas, and I post that content, you know, the coverage that I footage and stuff that I record, and the response to people, the comments that people respond back, it's horrible. You know, the people saying run them over, you know, they need to get a job. That's always the number one thing.
That's a
big.
big.
Why are these people not at work? You know, why are they not working?
And it's a Saturday, you know, it's
yeah.
a Saturday protest, and they're like,
you know, it's usually they need to work, run them over. It's just, I try to argue back, saying, you know, so what, are you against people standing up and, you know, speaking and using their constitutional right to, you know, freedom of speech and freedom to protest peacefully? You know, I understand if things get out of control and, you know, things start turning violent. You know, that's a different scenario. But if people are, you know, peacefully protesting, that's something that everyone should be happy to see people doing, because I mean, that's what keeps our check and balances and, you know, properly, what's the term I'm looking for? It just keeps everything leveled. Yeah, it keeps everything leveled out.
Well, you know, for me, one of the things that I don't really bother arguing, you know, whether I have the right to protest or should anymore, because there's really only one question that I want to know anytime someone gets that bent out of shape. Because as you said, yeah, the get a job thing is like a go-to. And, you know, first, does everybody work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday? So regardless of what day you're out there, okay. But number two, you're riding pass me in a private vehicle. You're not at work right now, right? So won't you go get a job? Are you going to a job interview right now? But you know, the one thing that really kills me is that, you know, why are you supporting pedophiles? That's really all I want to know.
100%.
Because at the end of the day, I thought we could disagree on tax policy, we could disagree on social issues. There's all kinds of things that we could disagree on and have a political debate about. And they're political. But when people choose to have a system that is systematically harming kids, and you say, okay, let's move on from this, I only can think of two reasons why you would do that. And one is you just don't care, or two, let's check your browser history. Yeah, let's check your browser history. I just don't get it, because it really should not be a political issue. We should not have a debate, or even need to debate at this point. If you think that there's not enough evidence to understand that Donald Trump was doing some inappropriate shit, then I don't know what will convince you. I don't need to see a graphic video to know that. I mean, his own words, the words coming out of his mouth of when he owned the Miss Teen USA or whatever it was, and going out and catching them getting dressed, and well, I can get away with that because I'm the owner. Just that right there should be something that should, and then add that on top of his best bud Epstein has been trafficking kids for, you know, a decade and a half or better. No.
And I've seen people be like, well, they're just screenshots. We're just seeing, like, anybody could have photoshopped that. I'm like, no, listen, these are files, like actual paper files, and online, they had access to his email. And when you log in to see the files, that's what you're doing. You're seeing the actual emails. You're not seeing some Photoshop shit. All the photographs, yeah, sure, they've been transferred into digital form, but these came from actual cameras. This is actual tangible fucking evidence. And if you're not seeing it, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, then again, you know, you have people who argue back, you know, oh, well, Bill Clinton, or, you know, the Democrats are in the files. Okay, well, fuck, I don't give a shit. I prosecute all these fucking sick
burn those fuckers too. Yeah.
It's like, I don't support any of them. You know, I'm not on the side of any fucking pedophile.
Yeah, they're crazy. And speaking of pedophile, there's this one photo they posted on the White House page. Yeah, the White House page.
How recent was
President
that?
Trump prioritizing girls and women in sports. And, you know, I think that this is the case when people are scared of, obviously, this is to protect them from the trends, right? They're scared. They're scared that they might like it, that they might actually enjoy being with a trans woman. But also they're scared that this is going to take away from their prey demographic, right? So they just want the little girls for themselves. I don't know. I just thought that was a pretty ironic thing for them to post on there, protecting women. And then following the protecting women, yeah, how do we protect women? We take away their right to abortion, of course. Of course.
Yes, because women don't know what they need anyway, right? Isn't that how it's supposed to be? They need a man to tell them everything. And so the Trump department administration was kind enough to have a man tell you guys that you don't need this. There you go. Problem solved, right? Okay, maybe not. But you know, the whole trans fixation that the right has, you know,
it's weird.
I was talking to someone recently on Facebook, and it was in a Facebook group, and I probably shouldn't have even been bothering with them, but it was about the origin of the universe, and somehow they managed to bring trans people into the conversation. And I'm like, this tells a lot about you. And this tells a lot about the Trump administration and MAGA in general. It occupies a lot of real estate in their mind. And, you know, I just don't get it. I don't understand why they are so fixated that almost any issue, it's going to get to trans. And of course, eventually you're going to get to Hillary's emails, because everybody's got to talk about Hillary's emails, and it's just this constant cycle of distraction and rinse and repeat. Don't get it.
It is, and it's obviously all for making sure that we're not talking about the files, because that's the big news. That's the big deal here. I was just thinking earlier, there's just so much power that these people hold because of the amount of money that they've been, holding, of course, and they're able to literally buy their way to power. And with power comes sort of very often some type of immunity to the law. Or else, you might end up like Epstein. Even though he's the one that was holding the power for so long, it just came a point where, for some reason, he no longer had protection. Maybe because somebody did the right thing, right? Maybe somebody along the way, I don't know, some courts, somebody did the right thing and finally convicted him and his wife, his partner, whatever it was. So. And George says, how did the universe begin? The trances.
There you go.
Ding, ding, ding. That's true. And it's literally how it seems to go. Oh gosh. We have some family members that unfortunately do that. They do that. You're talking about, I don't know, teachers, and all of a sudden, but the trances shouldn't be teachers. Or you're talking about, hey, you should be nicer to people, and then they tell you, like, just because trans people shoot people, I don't hate them all. And I'm over here like, how do we go from being nicer to the transes? How did it get there in 2 sentences, literally? It's just so weird.
Well, the thing that confuses me is that it's such a small fragment of the population that has so much real estate in their brain, and they don't seem to grasp. If trans people were coming to your job and taking over your jobs, and oh wait, that's immigrants. Sorry, that's
my bad.
But it's the same thing. It's just a made up thing that they're
going to take over the bathrooms.
The immigrants. I mean, I don't know what the trans immigrants are going to do. I don't know what they're going to. They're probably going to be the end of the country at this rate. I mean, I probably created a new panic now. I shouldn't have said that out loud.
I was going to say, wow.
Now that's going to be the next law they're going to pass. Executive order.
Stop. We're going to stop you right now because don't give them any more bad ideas.
Yeah.
But
cut me off.
Irony. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with that. The irony is they're over there screaming and literally taking away the rights of trans people because they're worried about trans women only. They don't give a fuck about trans men.
No.
Do they even exist?
No, they don't. It's when they hear trans, they are talking about trans man. That is always what they're talking about.
Right. So but they're out there taking away their protections and laws that protect them and stuff, and because they're gonna go in the bathrooms and abuse the little girls and sex up the woman, rape them and all of that stuff. And there's the Epstein files right over there floating literally on the other side
with zero trans people in it,
and they're like, look at the trans, don't that doesn't exist right there. What files?
The hypocrisy there is just horrible. Yeah,
like the literal pedophiles are right there.
Yeah, it's like that meme where the guys, the little characters drinking the coffee in the house on fire. It's like it's like all these sick fucks are right there. Why are you trying to push attention over to this small group of people that it's so frustrating.
Well, and you mentioned it being Black History Month earlier, and they've been warning us that we have consistently find marginalized communities and taken them and said, they're the demon, they're the enemy. Let's go after them. Let's get them, boys. And that's what's happening. And unfortunately, right now, trans people have served them really well in that. They've whipped up this fury. Ray had a conversation with her mother the other day about a gift that she sent to Gabriel, and of course dead named on the gift and all of that good stuff. And so she responded back saying, look, if you want to have a relationship with your grandchild, just use the right name. That's really it. And so, but in it, Ray used they as one of the pronouns. Who's they? Is that all you got from that? Really? The question is, do you want a relationship with your grandchild? And if you do, change that. But it's so fixated. This is a person who wasn't even political before Trump. And now they're just completely fixated on this culture war. And it just blows my mind that people continually do this just because they go to church, or their social circle teaches them these things, and so all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, and now I've got to be the grammar police and make sure that people use the pronouns the way I see fit. And all it was is a conversation about use the right name. Damn it.
Yeah. And let's make sure that if you're masculine, then you have a penis, and if you're feminine, then you have a vagina. I'll check you. And it's like so weird.
And that's the really insane thing, is that they're doing this under protect the women and the girls. But what they're really doing is they're saying, okay, now we're going to have to body check all the people that we define as women so we can make sure you fit our definition of women. And yeah, that sounds great. I think all the teenage girls going to get having to show what their genitals so somebody can decide that they're a woman or not. Yeah, that sounds like really protecting women to me, right?
And what are you going to do when you run into the people that exist?
Yes.
Who are intersex?
Yeah, and the thing,
their head's gonna explode, right? Because they can't.
Well,
they're gonna lose their fucking mind.
They try to pretend they don't exist, and then when you start talking about things like Olympics, because that's another area where this comes up a lot. When you start talking about specialized sports, and you talk about people that are really good, it's a lot more than that 2%. And so, and that's one of the reasons why they got rid of this testing, because you're going to find these complications. Life doesn't fit nice and neat into a binary category, either or. Life in almost no situation is either or. There's always that middle, and there life gets murky, things get messy, and when you start trying to do that, you're just going to be wasting your time. But to them, it's about achieving votes, and that's what they've done. They very successfully have ran on this issue to scare people, because you got people thinking that you would think that there's kids getting sex change operations in the middle of a break room, or middle of lunchtime. We're doing bottom surgery on Tuesday and top on Friday. That's really the way they act, and so they've got people whipped up into this false moral frenzy, which is really ridiculous all around. We got teachers buying their own supplies for their students because the district isn't giving them money. However, we're going to fit in bottom surgeries on Tuesday. Come on, give me a break. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, we have a whole operating room over there, next to the cafeteria, between the bathrooms, because so we can watch the kids, go into the right bathroom.
Yeah, make sure they do the right one. And I saw that it looked like Eli made the comment that, once again, another study that shows no advantage to transgender people. Yep.
The trans women don't have advantage in athleticism.
Nope. I saw that yesterday or day before yesterday. I saw it too. Yep.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, they always have to have a narrative. They always have to have a scapegoat to push, an agenda towards, like, during 9/11, we it was the Muslim community, weapons of mass destruction, pushing, we wanted to invade Iraq. I mean, it's always an agenda, and this is one that they see that it has a lot of traction, and they see a lot of response from it, especially when they mix it with religion and Christianity and push both of those together. It really gives them a lot of momentum, and that's something that we definitely have to fight back and push back against to reverse what they're pushing, to correct, to show it's not happening with what they're pushing.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, well, I'm old, so I can say that. But marriage equality was the issue. It's like, we got to make sure we push back. We can't let those gays get married. And, that issue has kind of died down some, but it's starting to come back.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. When the worst of the worst behaviors get normalized, we start reverting back and saying, hey, well, if we can be this way, if we can be openly racist, if we can be openly transphobic, why not be openly homophobic too? Because the truth is for the people that are on the two formal ones, almost all of them feel the same way about homophobia too. They're ready to double down on it as well. So when it comes down to it, it's like, once they get on the steamroll and they're rolling in that direction, it's like, hell yeah, it's wide open. Let's, white is right. Let's go ahead and to me, I just wish they would be honest and just start saying things like that. And let's quit pretending. Let's quit pretending that there's even a veneer. It's kind of like, I don't know, I'm sure you guys, at least one of you, maybe both, have seen Inglourious Bastards, and Gabriel's absolutely fixated with it.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is that the problem is that you're eventually, this is going to go poorly, and MAGA is going to get out of power. And my problem is they're going to take those red hats off, and they're going to try to blend in. And let's go ahead.
They're
and
still there.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go ahead and put it on your forehead, so I'll know. Because I don't want you to take that hat off. I don't want you to pretend that, oh, I wasn't one of those, because the bottom line is that you were either out there actively standing against it, or in my opinion, you're for it. I read a quote a while back, and I thought it perfectly summarized why I feel that I have to go out and protest. And it talks about this guy during the Vietnam War. He was I want to say a Methodist minister. It may have been Presbyterian, but he would stand out in front of the White House at night with the candle. And somebody very derisively asked him, what do you think? You think the U.S. government's going to change its policy on Vietnam over you standing out here with a damn candle by yourself? And he's like, no, I don't do this to change the government. I do this so the government doesn't change me. And, for me, when I go out there, it's a reminder that we can't let what's going on around us impact who we are, because that's how things get normalized, just like you were talking about. That's how we look at things and go, okay, it's not that bad. And as long as we continue to allow that creep to continue to pervade and allow the most terrible things to become normal, what we do is we allow even worse things to become okay, normal. Well, not that bad. And that's just not acceptable. Well, not that bad is not good enough.
Yeah. Well, and you have people that say, my vote doesn't count, or my voice doesn't mean anything. I can't do anything to change. The government's too powerful. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. That's the type of mentality that lets them get, ahead of us and push their agenda. You have to let them know, if they see there's no type of pushback against what they're doing, they're going to push harder. They're going to keep moving forward with what they want to do. If there is pushback, like what we had recently, with the protest in Minnesota, I mean, that was just basically to see the amount of people that stood up to what occurred. I think they realized, like, oh, hold on, there's too much pushback. We have to take a step back right now and kind of maybe calm it down a little bit. They got rid of what's his name, Bo.
Bovino?
Yeah, they kicked him out, and then they bring in the news border patrol Caesar, and it's just like they try to make it look like that they're kind of stepping back. They said they were going to take 700 agents out of the state, which is minimum. That's really nothing. But they're trying to portray that they're standing down, when in reality they're not. Okay,
No.
they're not. They're really not.
And first, let me say, Minnesota, I want to say thanks to all of you out there, because you guys are you're showing up. And that is such an important thing, because as you said, if people don't show up, things are just going to continue to progress. If we let them get away with it, they're going to continue doing what they're doing. So it's good to see them not backing down, pushing back. But this is another great example of how short-sighted this administration is, and in general, how the right wing, how short-sighted they tend to be. Because why would you send a bunch of guys from a bunch of California, Texas, and Florida boys to Minnesota in the middle of winter to do anything? And I think that they thought that people weren't going to protest as much because of the snow, but no, they're used to it. Don't send a bunch of people who are used to warm weather up there. They're not equipped for that. It's like, they should have picked on a southern state at least, but I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
No, it was a beautiful sight for sure to see that many people standing up against what's going on. And all over the country, so many local protests, spawn from those actions. And again, local protests and local organizing is something that really does matter. That's really the foundation to the larger, protests and so forth. That's where it grows from, grassroots efforts, to push back against this.
And that's one thing that where I moved to, it's a small town. It's not even 40,000 people, but every week there's a protest on Saturday. And well, since my daughter-in-law's moved here, her and I and some other people have really started going other days of the week as well. And it's just a reminder, because you're absolutely right. It's that grassroots. It's people being reminded there are people in your community. Because I live in a red dot in a blue state, and so it's them being reminded that you're not alone. There are people who realize this is not something that's okay. And it's interesting because I'm beginning to see more and more people involved, more people who are upset, people who I haven't seen come there before, who are coming and starting the protest now. And of course, that's important. People need to see that. People need to be part of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like what happened in Portland recently. Speaking of Portland, right? We have all these pretty cool protest shirts with the Portland frog on them. You can find them at the ingeniousmatter.com website. It's our website, so you will be supporting us if you buy them. But I think people like having something that unifies sort of the idea of protesting in solidarity with wherever that is happening, be it Portland or Minnesota or whoever's next, right? Chicago was before as well, but whoever's next, they want to have that sort of feel that they're doing something for all of these people suffering on the other side, because it could happen to you next. It more than likely is going to happen.
More than likely it will. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we all need to be watching these things. We can't just sit here and be like, well, it's not my state, it's not my city, I'll worry about it some other day. No, it's happening. It's there. And if we don't stand up and let people know that we're not going to sit here and take it in the ass, then yeah, that's what we're going to do. So, speaking of protests, when I've run into like all of these dumb comments on social media several times. When I mentioned that I went to a protest that I agree with, our constitutional rights to peacefully gather, and they would respond with something like, "Well, if you hate it here so much, why don't you leave?"
Yeah, why don't you leave?
Then there's the weird sort of opposite, which is like, but it's coming from the same people, right? And they're like, well, why are people at anti-ICE protests waving a Mexican flag? This is America. We don't wave those flags here. And like, I wonder if they ever hear themselves. You're telling people to leave the country if they don't feel that it is safe despite still, loving and the country and the people that you will be leaving behind if you did. And if I left the US, it doesn't mean that I will hate the people that I left behind or the places that I know that I want to see. Like you love your home country, right? And this isn't my home country, but which is why I still, wave the Argentinian flag, even though it's gone to shit. Like, so if I went somewhere else, I probably would still wave the American flag, especially if I went to protests in another country that have to do with America. And so ICE has a lot to do with people from Hispanic countries. So yeah, it's understandable. You're gonna see Mexican flags there. People are trying to show you like, hey, there's diversity here. Why are you so afraid of diversity? And I don't know, there's novel concept that you can love your country and still acknowledge when it has become unsafe for you to be there at that time. And yeah, like they put you down if you protest, and then they put you down if you leave. Like there's no winning. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, AJ. Have you got your paid protesting check yet? I mean, you are a paid protester, aren't you?
I'm still very poor.
Okay.
I have not. How about you, Glenn?
Well, what I've been doing is I set up a tent right outside my mailbox so that I can get up every morning really early and just stand there all morning and wait until the postal truck comes by and just be very disappointed. Usually I'll go back inside after the check doesn't show up. Sometimes I'm sobbing so uncontrollably that I just collapse there in the tent until the next morning. But usually I manage to make it home, get myself together, and realize that George Soros hasn't paid me yet.
He just hasn't paid you.
But he's coming. It's happening. I believe it. One of the things that you mentioned that I wanted to touch on is that you mentioned the fact of them saying, why don't you go, why don't you leave? I think one of the problems with them is that they don't understand that someone can actually care enough about issues, enough about other people to get up and without being paid, without a financial incentive, to get up and say, you know what, I'm going to go there and use my time of my day and my energy and my effort to make a sign and go out there and do this. To them, they would never do that. There's nothing that could get them off their couch or out of their car other than maybe getting triggered by somebody who said something bad about their dear leader. But they just can't imagine doing those things. So when they see people out there, they're like, oh, why don't you leave? Because they don't get it. They don't understand why in the hell are you doing this?
They can't comprehend that concept. Yeah.
Not at all.
So, I've told this story before, but I'm originally from Argentina, despite their rumors out there that I am from Germany. I have no idea how that came to be. Maybe because my parents live in Switzerland. Anyway, so I came from Argentina when I was 15. And the reason we came here was because Argentina was going through a very severe political uproar. And I was pretty young. I didn't know a lot about politics, but from what I remember, during this time, the banks couldn't release funds for people to their credit cards and stuff. So unless you had cash, you're fucked. And at the time that we sold everything and decided to come here, we were still able to sell all of that stuff, right? It was the day before 9/11. So we woke up the next day and we were watching this little tiny TV that was probably the size of my head. The Twin Towers getting hit and, 9/11 unfolding right in front of us. So we had made something like $10,000 with the sale. So my parents had the money because people were struggling a lot for money. So the neighbors knew that we just sold everything. So we weren't worried about getting murdered for the money, basically. So we had to wait a whole month to be able to move here to the US. And during that time, things were getting worse and worse. We were okay because we had that money, but other people were not able to buy food, and so food riots began to happen, and about 40 people got killed by the police during that time. It was a couple weeks time, and we had 5 presidents in 2 weeks. And so among those 40 people, I think there were about 10 children that were also killed during the protests, the riots, food riots. People just stealing food from supermarkets. So we come all the way over here, and with all these hopes of, the American dream, typical what one would expect when thinking about moving to America 20 something years ago. You people don't know how old I am. I'm in my 20s. I came when I was a baby. Kidding. Just kidding. No, I was a teenager. But so we moved here with all of those hopes, and we're raised, and we're able to go to high school, and we have a lot of opportunities that we would otherwise not have had in Argentina. I don't know. I probably wouldn't be alive today, to be truthful, if we hadn't moved to the States. So I'm very grateful for being here. And I know what this place can be. And it isn't that right now. So do I just try and escape somewhere else, or do I stay here and fight? And I struggle with that because I really don't want to live my life fighting. I want to go and enjoy life and be able to stay alive. And over here, with not even being able to afford my medication for the month, I don't know if I will be. Whereas if I move somewhere else, maybe I can fight in a way from wherever I am. I don't know. It's just a hard choice, right? I'm struggling with words right now, but it's just heartbreaking, because I know there's probably a lot of people that are in this, that feel the same, that went through the exact same thing.
You and I have talked, and if we don't see things go a radically different direction in the next, at most 2 years, our goal is Uruguay. I'd love to stay. I've been here. We moved here in Alamogordo, New Mexico, almost a year ago. Not quite. I've already got my oldest daughter and her wife and kid to move here. So we've got 6 of us here now, not in the little house, but within 7-minute walk. And I like a lot of things here, even though it is a red area. But the truth is that at the rate things are going, if things don't fundamentally change, I have to ask myself, what would I do if I was in 1933 Germany? What was the right choice then? And I hate to sound like I'm trying to be dramatic, but the truth is that these situations change quickly. You mentioned, your personal experience. When things don't just glide down to we find, we're getting there. Okay, it looks like we got another 3 months or 6 years. No, when it nosedives, it's just going to take that dip. And when that happens, you have to do it before that point. You can't wait till it happens and then go, okay, now let's make a decision. So I really want to stay here, and I really want to fight, and I'm going to continue fighting. And if I leave, I'm still going to continue to fight too. But
from a safe spot where you can probably do more. Because you know what? If right now where we are, I'm pretty sure we are all struggling financially. And if there is a potential to go somewhere else where you're going to be in a much better position to support financially all of the efforts that are being made out there with organizations that are able to do things much better than we can. Like we're in Houston, and there's this organization run by Will Judy called Secular Houston, and they recently became a PAC, and they are doing so much to turn the state blue. They're doing so much, and that's what you want to support, the type of people that you want to give your financial support to. And yeah, sure, I can do some things online, which I will continue to do. but I feel like we will be able to support much better, or at least more of higher level efforts.
Yeah, I think that one other thing is that we need to always be cautious of is the fact that while we want change and things are going to change, I absolutely do believe that ultimately this is going to fail. This is going to fail because this type it's like a self-eating monster. You can't sustain this indefinitely. The question is, how long is it going to take before we get to that point? And that's when it comes to the safety aspect. Because I've talked to people recently, and because the group that I hang out with at the protests, we're the bad kids. We are at the bad corner. We're the troublemakers. That's what the other protesters refer to us as. We're the troublemakers. In fact, we've had somebody today come over and say, "I heard you guys are the troublemakers." So I figured, well, that's probably where I belong then.
Let me join.
But the thing that I try to tell them is look, I don't want to just passively do this. This has to be an actual resistance, which is why I think a national strike is so vital. But the bottom line is that either we do this and we change things, and if we stay, or we end up on boxcars and we end up in cages. And that really is the way this is going to play out. And so, look, I'd rather end up dead than in a boxcar or a cage. But either way, they're going to have to put some effort to get me in that cage. So as long as I'm here, well, I've got to be mindful though that I could end up in a cage, and that's what all of us could end up being.
That's the point.
He's passed that. I mean, he's pushed that executive order where all of us are really pretty much domestic terrorists already, just having this conversation.
And so you already have the label, and so they've set the precedence that if you so much as look at them wrong, then domestic terrorists, I told you, they were already on the list right here of the criminals. They deserve to be shot. Why were they existing?
That's like that's what they've been working on. They wanted to be able to set the stage, to be able to label liberals or anyone, again, like I said earlier, that goes against their narrative as domestic terrorists. That sets the foundation for them to be able to arrest you basically for pretty much anything. Pretty much anything. Like you said, like even this live stream we're doing today, this evening, talking about everything that's going on and pushing back against their agenda. This is we're basically putting ourselves liable for arrest. Sadly, and that's the horrible thing, because we're supposed to have the constitutional right to be able to speak our mind and speak out against this kind of stuff. But yet, again, many will not, because they're fearful that they will be arrested for speaking out. And that's something that there needs to be enough people that let those people know it's okay to speak out. That we're here, we're your friend, we support that same view as you. There's a lot of us out here. Numbers is power. So if there's enough of us that stand up and don't step down or take our voice away, as long as we stay vocal, we stay at the front, I think that we have the chance to be able to come out of this narrative, on the upside. But it's going to be a fight. We are at a point, I think, in our society or in America in general, to where we're right on the brink of a civil war. I mean, it's either you agree with it or you go away. Like we're at that point. We have to fight. I feel that's really the only outcome.
Well, I do think that something you mentioned about on the brink of civil war that I think is so complicated, because the divide in this country really is urban one way, rural the other. And so in every state you look at, in the urban areas, you find blue areas. You go to the rural areas, you find red, and that's going to be a very difficult thing to separate. But we're going to have to figure that out. I agree, because either we do this through civil war, we grow up and mature a little bit and realize that we can survive together. I got to admit, I'm not super hopeful of that, but it's a possibility. Or, I think that it's time that we recognize that maybe the right choice is to let them have Gilead, let them have their whatever, and let us go our own ways. The big beautiful bill, well, I call it the great divorce. I really think that it's time that we seriously start talking about the possibility of that divorce in this country, because I don't want a civil war. I know on the right, you constantly see these people, we got the guns and we're going to do this. And I look at these people, and 3/4 of them, they're older than me. And goddamn, Walgreens goes out and they lose their prescriptions and they're dead in a month. But they talk all this talk. Well, you know what? I don't want a civil war. I don't want us to fight our ways out of this. What I want to see is for us to say, look, maybe the great experiment has run its course, and it's time for us to consider going our own ways, because all empires fail, and that includes this one. This one is, we have the oldest constantly existing in use constitution that's still being used. That's a hint. When you go read the obituaries and everybody in the obituaries is younger than you, well, I've got to tell you, if not too far from now, somebody's going to read yours. And so I think that it's one of those situations that we have to be honest about, that whatever we do from here, maybe it's not united we stand. Maybe we need to go our own way.
Yeah, the Greeks and the Romans are not here to tell us about their experiences for a reason. For a reason. But yeah, that's why I called it the State of the Unionless. Okay, there was a comment. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree. Unfortunately, I see Jesse Riverbank here with what would Civil War look like, and that's one of those things that's so problematic, because yes, this is going to. There's no way that anybody can organize and really stand against the U.S. government itself. So that's silliness to even think that you're going to be able to do that through armed conflict. It's unrealistic, which once again, though, is why I say maybe we should consider going our own way. It's just, it's such a complicated, and I know that what that's going to ultimately mean is a lot of people are going to have to relocate here in what is now the United States.
So are you thinking the solution would be for us to, like, would we ever get to the point to where we would have to divide states? Like you have a liberal state where all the liberals move to this, to this state, and there are hardcore conservatives in the state, where we separate basically.
Yeah, I believe that there's a method in our Constitution in which the state houses themselves can call for a constitutional convention. They can entirely bypass Congress. Congress will have no role in this. And if the states do it, then Congress, the only role they have is to say, okay, here we are, we're going to have a convention. And then that convention can decide whatever they want. And then it would have to be ratified by the states. So the states can do this essentially with minimal congressional input. Now, there's a lot of hard questions there. There's debt. There's, different things, what is federal property, all these different things that have to weigh into that. But yeah, I think that's right now, that's where I'm at. I would have to put myself firmly in the secessionist camp. We can't continue doing it this way. And we have to find a way to do it that doesn't result in a war. And the only way to do that is that I see, because our Congress is so feckless and weak. I don't think there's more than 3 or 4 spines among the whole group of them. So I don't have any confidence in them. But state legislatures could be moved to push this type of behavior if things get worse.
Yeah, in reality, nobody does win in a civil war, and I don't think anybody wants to get to that point. I mean, both sides lose, and it's a horrible thing. It's gonna, if that were to occur, our country gets set back like so far. I mean, everything we worked for over all these years, everything was done for nothing, because the Civil War basically just pushes us back. I mean, it's a horrible thought. I don't even like to think about it, but I mean, it is something that should be on the mind of Americans these days.
It's interesting because the other day I was trying to think of the other worst president that I could think of, and I came up with Bush, and I'm like, right, like he was shit, but here we are thinking, huh?
Yeah,
he's not the worst anymore.
Trump said, "Hold my fucking beer. Let me show you."
Yep. Well, you know what's messed up is that a lot of people forget that Bush 43 is part of the reason, with the Patriot Act, with all the other tightening of limitations on individual citizens. Bush 43 is how we got the Department of Homeland Security, how we got ICE. So he brought this into being. As far as
nationalism.
Yes, we can definitely thank him for it. Now, having said that, I definitely would like to see people realize that and realize, maybe the solution. I see people saying abolish ICE. No, abolish the entire Department of Homeland Security. 25 years ago, they didn't exist, and we survived without them. And honestly, we could say to me, it was all an overreaction to 9/11.
Yeah, the Patriot Act, that fucked everything up.
that and actually what's interesting is all of that is what started. I had already left the Republican Party probably about 10 years before, but I still had some Republican leanings. But 2004, after all post 9/11, Iraq got started, all those things, that's the first time in my life I voted for a Democrat. I was like, you know what? Bush is such a piece of shit. I will vote for any Democrat that's on the ballot over a Republican. So at that time, I was a libertarian, so I voted libertarian. And if there wasn't a libertarian on the ballot, I voted Democrat. Because, oh my God, look, when Bush choked on a pretzel on Air Force One, I was telling all my friends, look, send pretzels to the White House. Just send a bag of pretzels. Just do it. Because, we might get lucky. We didn't get the right bag, but with a little help, we can take care of this. But now I'm like, Bush 43, wasn't nearly as bad as this clown.
But so that you raised an interesting, I guess, topic there. You said that from everything that you saw, as other horrible things that Bush did, it pushed you away from him and made you vote, not vote Republican for the first time. I guess I have hope that maybe a lot of the people that voted for Trump, that put him into power for this term, maybe they have, maybe they kind of feel the same. Like, do they really want this to go as far as it's gone? Like, do we have a certain amount of the population that voted for him that feel that he's gone too far? There's always going to be the hardcore, MAGA heads that are going to, no matter what, they're going to agree with that, with whatever agenda he pushes. But I do have hope that there are some out there that are like, man, this is too much. Yes, I wanted immigration reform, but I didn't want American citizens to be, shot on the street. I didn't want American citizens to be rounded up, with ICE going door to door, knocking on, on homes and pulling people out without, warrants and shit. So I do have that hope, but again, it's a very, very small amount of hope.
Well, we do have some family that have done that, but there's still some family that vote for Trump, even this third, fourth, fifth time. They won't vote anyway.
Yeah, well, you got to think. Case in point, me. In 1990, 1991, I was a delegate to the Louisiana Republican Convention for a white supremacist. So, people do change. And that is one of the things that makes me hope that there's something that comes across that's better, that people actually get a grasp and realize what because as you mentioned, Joseph, these people are like, he's going to arrest the criminals, and the worst of the worst is who he was going to arrest. I didn't sign up for this. And I'm definitely hopeful that these type of people do go to the booth and do something different, because if they do, we have a chance at seeing some of this stuff corrected. I do have my worries about the long-term impact of the things that he's doing. But, look, let's get out of this mess first. So I'm with you. And I really hope that we do see this, and that's what I'm really hoping to see at the end of this year, to be honest.
I have a question. Did someone sort of change your mind? Like, did somebody say something to you that changed your mind, or was it more like something that you became self-aware of the harms or like your bad ideas that you were holding?
You know, I've thought about that a lot. I was asked about that probably a year and a half ago, and I've thought a lot about it since then, because the truth is I didn't really think about where that moment was that changed. But I think a lot of it was after I went off the rails in my life and started experiencing life through the eyes of other people who weren't people who necessarily looked just like me, and having those experiences with people of color, realizing, you know what, they're not any different. You know, they may season their food better than some of my white friends, but you know, that's and not trying to minimize their experience, because they're, and in some ways their lives are very different because they didn't get the advantage of, well, privilege. I'm a white man, so, but you know, I think that that's one of the things. And the truth is that I don't think it takes a big crack. Once that crack starts, and then it shatters rather quickly. It's kind of like religion. You know, people have this strong religious belief, and then when they start seeing a few flaws in it, and they actually accept that they're flaws, and they're not just going to disbelieve their lying eyes, then everything falls apart, because it's like seeing, you know, the magic trick taught to you about how it's done. Once you realize it, then every time you see it, you see how they're doing it. Same thing. I think that with me, I think it was just a matter of having that awareness of other people and that life experience. I think that was a lot of it right there. And of course, being receptive to it, understanding, because some people just have a hard time admitting they're wrong. And don't get me wrong, I fucking hate being wrong. I can't stand being wrong. But the thing I hate being wrong, I hate staying wrong far more. So, you know, you got to adapt. And that's, you know, that's really no fancy, no Paul on the road to Damascus, you know, light shining down and telling me to quit being a piece of shit racist. Nothing like that. Just life experience.
Yeah. I was just wondering because like we encounter all of these people that comment bullshit all over social media, right? And we always going in like, how can you not see that you're being a fucking racist, sexist, transphobe, homophobe, whatever hateful flavor they're displaying on that specific comment? And we often try to change their minds, but there comes a point where all of our efforts feel useless, and so you start fighting back more aggressively. And I know that definitely doesn't change their mind.
No,
that doesn't. I think if you see I think it's a good idea to start off gently and kind of like get a feel of how the person feels, or how the person is going to approach the conversation. And usually they tell you within a comment, you can tell right away whether they're a fucking asshole or whether they're gonna be there and actually engage back and forth. So I don't know.
You know, and one thing that I have to say that really has impacted me here after moving was I missed all the people that I interacted with the ACA, and you know, except AJ, of course. I'm not at all there, but you know, and started trying to find people here, and ended up getting some really good people here in the area, and starting a humanist community. And I've got to say that it's something, starting, if there's not something already there, starting something locally, because look, interacting on social media, interacting remotely, that does count. I am not trying to discount it and say there's not a very important and valuable space for it, because there is, and anyone who tries to imply it otherwise would be lying. But there's also no complete replacement of actual standing in the same room with people and living in the same town with people who feel the same way you do. And,
Yeah.
fortunately, I've been able to get that going here. And it's just unbelievable because while I go out and protest and I do all these things, and all this is really wearing on you as a person, but having that opportunity to have a group of people to vent with, to hang out with. We had a potluck at the end of last month. All these different just normalized things of doing an experience. Man, that's great. It helps reset you to get you ready for the next day you go out to that protest and people are flipping you off and yelling because you've recharged. And that recharging is something that, man, I've really gained from.
It's so important.
Yep.
That just gave me a really good idea. Do you know Eliot's Secularity? He started secularizing US, which is mostly focused on Tennessee, and they sort of share information for local Tennessee area in-person events with the purpose of doing what you just said, to build community of people who meet up in person, and they do all sorts of different things like like things that you will normally find in more religious spaces, but in a secular way. I don't know, book club. They have this Arts and Reason event, which is tomorrow actually, and they do music. They meet up at a bar. They not just music. They do other type of art. I don't know, comedy, stand-up comedy. Somebody reciting poetry, painting, whatever, art. And I was thinking they've been wanting to expand to share and build the community for other states, especially southern U.S. states, which need it a lot more, it seems. And I'm gonna talk to him about if he will give me permission, because I manage their social media website stuff. And if they'll give me permission, then maybe we could start sharing for your local organization on their page as well. Like right now, it's focusing, like I said, on Tennessee, but there's followers from all over, and we can actually build, make sure that the people in your area or in the area of wherever we're sharing, that we're going in groups and sharing there, and sort of taking in followers that then we'll see the next event popping up. So yeah,
that would be pretty cool, and that's one of the things we've started a relationship with the state humanist group, as well as we've started working with the White Sands Unitarian Fellowship. They're not part of the official UU, but and admittedly there's some things that I'm a little uncomfortable with some of the things that they do. But if anything is I've been reminded of is the fact that right now, when you're looking for allies, I can't gatekeep what goes on in your brain and what works for you. I can live with what works for me, but look, if you value humans and you value people and you value human rights and basic human decency, then I'm going to try to work with you. And they've been nothing but, they've opened their doors up to us. They've let us use, in fact, our potluck we had. In fact, when I talked to them, like, yeah, you can use it. And then they're like, well, we have our potluck at the beginning of the month. Can we just join yours? I'm like, hell yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. And, they have some programs. You mentioned a book club, and that's something we were looking to implement. But, since they have a book club, we're just kind of working with them right now because, why reinvent the wheel, especially if you find some people who are welcoming and say, come on in, here we are, here's our building. They've been, to say they're generous is an understatement. And the fact that they are, LGBTQ affirming and that they just believe in basic human rights, it seems like that should be something hard to come up with. It should be easy. Everybody should be like, okay, low level, base level human rights, we're good. But that's not so easy to find. So hell yeah. The Unitarians have definitely been a very good find. They came to our meeting initially, and I'm really glad they came because and admittedly the resources that they provide are great, but just really nice people. Just absolutely some of the nicest people that I've come across here in Alamogordo, other than this one troublemaker, Spencer. He's a Spencer's one of the people I met through the Humanists. Yeah. So yeah, Spencer's great too, by the way.
Yeah, I see two comments in the chat. One from Jesse Riverbank and one from just another man, and they're both saying praising also Unitarians. So yeah, I had the same experience in with Trump's first administration. There was a pretty blatant attack on science, and they had the March for Science, and I organized the one for Houston. And one of the places that we worked with were the Unitarian Universalists, because they first came to us and they were like, "Okay, anything we can do, let us know." And so we had a lot of meetings with potential speakers and potential volunteers and all that, or volunteer organizing meetings. And it was quite a few people because Houston is big, and we were expecting about 10,000 people. We ended up with 15,000. But when we approached them and we were like, "Hey, you said you could help. Could we use your space for these meetings?" And they were like, "Yeah, of course." And they will give us like huge rooms with like plenty of space to have as many people as we needed. They were really, really supportive, and yeah, and secular. They were continuing to be secular throughout. So that's one of the good things. I mean, I don't know if you would consider it secular. Like, yeah, I guess so in a way, because they're for the separation of church and state, and they're welcoming of all different belief sets that you may have, whether you're an atheist or whether you're a theist, but are okay with participating in events with both. Yeah.
Yeah, well, here they're very clear to define that they're the Unitarian Fellowship, not church.
Okay.
And and I think that that's a real big and important difference.
Yeah.
Because and because for me, when I first moved here, I was like, I need to check the Unitarians out, because I already know that if I went there, I'd find people who have similar values and viewpoints, but I just couldn't bring myself to get past that church thing. And then when they came and they said fellowship, and then I was like, either way, I just got to get over it, because these are allies. These are people who feel the same way I do about a lot of things. So I'd be foolish to ignore that. And having said that, though, fellowship is a very different thing than church, because that's really what we're trying to do. When I used to go to Austin, when they had live streams in studio, it almost felt like after church fellowship hall meeting kind of thing, when we all got together and ate pizza or whatever after it and talked shit and had a good time. It did have that almost church social vibe. And that's one of the things that I miss, and seeing that and being able to start seeing that be developed here. And of course, one group already having it, that's pretty useful. It really helps recharge. So back when you're out there Monday, or whenever you're out protesting next, and they're doing their thing, it really helps to have that recharge. It's really helped me. I know that.
Yeah. Direct connection with fellow humans definitely helps you.
It feels really hopeless right now, right? And so when you find those people that are feeling the same way, but instead of bringing each other down, they're like, "Hey, here's what we can do." Or even if you're feeling like super shit to the point that you're about to lose it, going out and reading a book or having a meal or going out stargazing or going to a museum together, like as a group and stuff, it helps distract you and, like you said earlier, recharge you.
Yep.
So that you can continue the fight. So it's super, super important to find that local, because again, yeah, you can get on a video call with a friend and rant and vent, and that's also super, super helpful. But there's really nothing like going out there in person and hanging out and doing fun stuff, having a drink, whatever you do.
Yes,
whatever legal stuff you do.
One of our early events that we did was a stargazing event that Spencer organized, and that we would meet up for coffee. Of course, we did that a few weeks back, and I got to admit, I wasn't expecting the place to be quite as crowded as it was. And of course, it didn't help that we had a better turnout than I expected too.
Nice.
But that's a good thing not to complain about. So people show up, meet some new people. it seems like every time we have a meeting, there's somebody else new to meet. And of course, that means somebody else new that I can tell stories to that I haven't told them already to. And that's always a bonus, right? But then it also, I actually meet some good people. It's a plus.
So you have a teenager that's our teenager's age. Have you, unfortunately,
The sigh.
16.
But in these in-person groups that you've been organizing and going to, have you found other like-minded families that have teenagers or children that are participating?
Well, at our potluck that we had recently, we had a young woman who has been participating in our chat, but hadn't gone to a meeting until the meeting before the potluck, and then she showed up at the potluck with her 2 young kids and her mom. So starting to see some kids and bringing I thought that was really nice, bringing a family member. And at the UU, most of the people there are older, but at the potluck, I did see some people in their teenage years, so I know they're adjacent. They're slowly developing. Mostly though, it's primarily Gabriel and my grandson.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, no, I was just wondering because I'm sure you've seen. I don't know if these are happening all over the U.S., but they're happening in Texas, where there've been a lot. Like, I think at least 2 in the last week, 2 different days, where a ton of high schools, the students have walked out in protest of ICE. You seen that over there too? I haven't. I'm trying to keep up with all the news, but
I know I saw it in Carlsbad. They did that. I think I saw it in Las Cruces as well.
Okay.
I haven't seen it in Alamogordo, but maybe I should talk to Gabriel about organizing that.
Yeah, right.
Get
it together.
I mean, after all, Gabriel did go to school for probably a month after Charlie Kirk with a crosshair on their neck.
I remember
that.
Yeah.
So they
Wow.
definitely are willing to push buttons and consistently doing their Donald Trump imitation all the time at
the accordion.
So yeah, I
love
definitely
it.
think so it's and that's one thing I have to say, that coming here I was concerned about how this is going to play out. I quit wearing makeup for the most part because I was thinking, if I'm moving here to Alamogordo, I don't want Gabriel's already potentially set up to be a target already. I didn't want to do those things and say, yeah, and your dad wears makeup too. So I don't have nail polish on right now, but usually I do still do that. Look, fuck them. There's only so far I can go. But and the
Eli's
thing
been
is
doing that too.
I know, and I'm really glad because that's about tearing down those rigid gender roles. Fuck those rigid gender roles. But one of the things that I really liked is Gabriel's really done well adapting to school here. And what's so strange about this state is that it's a poor state. It's a much poorer state than Texas. But the government here seems to want to actually enable the people rather than, ignore them. So I've got to say that, like, as far as the equipment that she has here in Alamogordo is newer equipment than in the schools that we saw in Texas, which is really kind of surprising because Texas has the money. It's just not a priority to them. So it's just like they really are doing a lot with what they have. And that's one thing I've got to say, that I'm really glad that it seems like, well, now it's the 6 of us. The 6 of us are adapting really well here. So it's
that's
really
good to hear, though. Yeah, that's really good to hear.
And you guys need to visit.
We do need to come.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Well, here in Texas, Greg Abbott is pushing back against the statewide protests through the school system. Threatening to take away funding from school districts that don't push back to punish the kids who walk out of during these protests. And I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, Greg Abbott.
Other than it's too bad that tree didn't aim better.
Hey,
you know, having said that, though, it absolutely blows my mind that I'm sure you've seen it where that MAGA went after that young girl in Buda, Texas.
Yeah, I did.
Came after her and got his ass handed to him, which was really awesome. But and here we had an incident where a old guy, got physical with one of the people in the group that I protest with. I wasn't there that day, unfortunately. I'd have pepper sprayed his ass.
Or fortunately.
Unfortunately. But he actually got into a physical confrontation with her. And, I got to say, if you breathe hard, he'd have probably fell over. But, it seems that time and time again, we find it's completely on brand because the person he pushed was a 20-something-year-old woman. They always go after women. It's like they expect the woman is just going to stand there and take it because that's what they're supposed to do. They're that weaker vessel. And it just seems weird to me because if you're going to go after somebody, at least go after somebody, roughly your size or age or something. Don't go pick a small 20-something-year-old, woman who's all she's doing is, maybe running her mouth at most. And of course, you started it. You're the one that came up and walked up to
right.
us, we didn't come to you. We didn't knocking on your door, but it's pretty much on brand for them.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm really glad that to have seen there are the people that are complaining on social media about the kids walking out, right? But the majority of the people who are parents of the kids walking out, they've all been very supportive of the kids doing it. And I think the MAGA and the conservatives are really scared that the younger generations are the ones that are going to be voting for the next election, right? And if they're uprising right now, if they are using their eyes that they have and seeing what's going on and acting on it, then how much more pissed off are these now teenagers going to be when they turn 18 in a couple years and are able to vote for the next presidential election? That's what they're scared of.
That's a very good point. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, because I mean, most of these high school kids that are walking out, they'll be voting age in 2 years, when we get to the presidential election. So wow, that's a very, very good, thoughtful insight.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them that are already 16, 17 years old, so they're already going to be within that age pretty soon, high school students, right? So
that's one of those things that it's so short-sighted. Once again, it goes back to how short-sighted they really are. Yes, this should be a clear signal to them that they have a problem. But rather than say, okay, what can we do to address the actual problem that's pissing people off?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's push it off here to the side where nobody sees it. And that's not going to fix the problem. Because if we have 2 years of this absolute clown pulling his game with the international trade by tariff here, tariff there, everybody, let's slap a tariff here. As long as we do that and have that continual uncertainty, I can only imagine how much worse and more pissed off that 16-year-old who's going to be 18-year-old who's been looking for a part-time job, not to go get extra spending money to go out and party on the weekend, but because his mom and dad may not even have a job because of the worsening economy, and he's looking to help pay the rent or the mortgage on where they're living, because this is where we're heading. We're not looking at having kids work for luxury. Kids are going to end up being working because, well, we all need to eat. And as we continue to see this economy worsen, they can continue to push the things to the side and say, you know what, grocery prices are down. I don't know what you guys are talking about affordability, but affordability is not going away. And as long as that's the major issue, I think they're in for a bloodbath. I think they're in for a bloodbath in 26. And I think that as long as the Democratic Party doesn't put another typical corporate Democrat as their representative in 2028, I think that whoever the GOP puts up, I think they're going to get just absolutely demolished. However, if they put up another corporate Democrat, all bets are off, because this is the game we've been playing for 50 years and it's just not working. It really hasn't been working for the American people for a long time, but it's definitely not working now. And I think people are starting to see through that. And so you can't keep playing that shell game. And hopefully they'll get that.
And sadly, racism is fucking bullshit in America. And that is the reason, racism and sexism. And that is the reason why Kamala Harris did not win the last election. It has nothing to do with her positions on issues. It's the fact that she was a woman and a woman of color.
I think that the fact that she was a woman of color didn't help her. But I also think that when it comes down, when I look at the 2024 election, actually, let me step back to the 2016 election. I look at the 2016 election and I look at the fact that the Democratic Party chose Hillary Clinton, a thoroughly contemptible and detestable person who was very unpopular with everybody. Look, in 2008, and this is going way back, goddamn, I'm old. I remember when she was running for the Democratic nomination then. I was talking to one of my doctors and she's like, look, I've been Team Hillary for a long time, but Barack Obama had started winning some primaries. And she's like, but I'm just so excited about him. I'm so excited about Barack Obama. But as a lesbian woman, I feel like I really should be voting for Hillary. And she's like, but I'm so excited about Obama. And she's like, I'm really concerned. It's like, well, I think that Barack Obama is going to get the nomination. Obviously he did. And I look at that and I'm thinking, damn, if you are going to risk losing the lesbian vote from Hillary to Barack Obama, look, that should be part of your prime demographic. You should be safe, solid with them. And that's the thing. They threw her in there in 2016 because she was next woman up. But the bottom line is the country hated her. And I look at them and I blame the Democrats for not pushing Bernie. Bernie would have destroyed Trump. And we would have never had to hear his fucking name again. So I blame the Democrats for him getting in office in the first place. And then when 2024 comes around, I was very annoyed because Biden promised to be a one-term president. He promised he would not run for a second term. And when he did, and they decided, okay, we're not going to have primaries. We're just going to anoint Biden and we're going to tell everybody that he's fine, he's capable of it, even though anybody with eyes could see the dude's losing it. He's not the guy he was 4 years ago or 3 years ago. 100%. And they gaslit us to a situation where really we didn't have a choice. It was too late to do primaries. You weren't going to, even when he did that disgusting debate and all of us could see this guy needs to be out the pasture and Jill Biden should have been ashamed of herself for it. Even then, we started to wait, 10 days before he actually stepped down? And all this time that got burned, that put her at a severe disadvantage as well. Now, don't get me wrong. I consider her a weak candidate. She's never somebody I would have chosen for it. But the bottom line is that the Democratic Party gave us 2 terms of Donald Trump, in my opinion. And that's why right now I am so angry because, look, I want 2028. I want to see somebody on the ballot that I go, damn right, let's do this thing. But as long as they pick somebody who's just another boring Democrat, there's just a lot of people that are going to stay home. They may not vote for whoever the 2028 GOP candidate is. They may not even write anybody in 2024. I wrote in Cornel West. They might not do any of that. But the bottom line is that, I wish Bernie were younger.
I really do too.
Yeah,
man.
I would vote for, don't get me wrong, I would vote for AOC. If AOC got the nomination, I'm not team AOC. I don't have anything against her. She's as good or probably a cut above the average at least. I would be okay with that. But man, if they pick somebody like Gavin Newsom, I'm just going to go in my room and cry. because
I don't think Newsom's the answer either.
Newsom's
Do you
not.
have currently a candidate that could win the next election? Like, who would you put if you have somebody in mind?
What's kind of funny is that one person that does come to mind is somebody who's running for U.S. Senate in Texas. I would pick either one of those candidates. The two Democratic U.S. Senate candidates for Texas, I would pick either one of those for president.
I know who you're talking about.
Crockett or
Tallarico. Yeah,
either one of them. I don't care.
And they're running against each other.
I know, and it's like, goddamn, two candidates I'd be perfectly happy with seeing win.
Listen, here's an idea. One of them wins the seat for Texas, and the other goes and runs the next.
Look,
there you go.
I'm
Problem
down
solved.
for that. And here's where I'm probably going to step into a big pile of shit. Look, I turn on and start listening to a clip with Crockett in it, and I don't care if Ray is 3 rooms away. She'll be like, "Is that my girl?" Like, yeah. So she'll rush in here. And, all right, let's listen. And so I definitely am biased towards Crockett. Having said that, like you, I do have my concerns because once again, we got a woman of color, and my problem is that I don't feel like we ever have change by not voting for change. So is it a risk to put another woman of color up there? Yes, it is, because there's a bunch of piece of shit assholes. But the truth is that people like MAGA are never going to vote for a woman of color. They're never going to vote for a woman anyway. We're not reaching for them. And I'm really hoping that after 4 years of this fiasco, that people go, I was a little uncomfortable with it last time, but let me make that choice, because if all we run is white men from here to the end of eternity, all we're going to get is a white man. We had Barack Obama's an anomaly, and it blows my mind, because I honestly think that the reason we have Donald Trump as a president is because Barack Obama was elected in 2008. I think in 2008, when this certain element in our country, some of the worst element in our country, saw a black man as president, and they went, oh, hell no. And I really believe that is a driving force. And I'm not saying that it's his fault that Trump is president,
It's,
but that
I get what you're
stirs
saying.
something in people. And that is something that, okay, then maybe we need to continue to push back that direction, because we've tried this. Okay, the right says, okay, meet me in the middle. And then they move more over, meet me in the middle. And they continue that slide. Well, we can continue meeting them where they say they want us to meet them, and we'll never get what we want. And I say it's time that we see, look, I'm all for a woman president. Let me be very clear. As I mentioned, this is, I think that, look, men, all the men out there who are watching now, we've had our time, and we've shown what we're capable of doing, and it's shit. So, and not just as president, I'm talking in leadership in all things. Businesses, the humanist group that I'm starting, I'm pushing women leadership there, because I think it's time that we have voices that represent more than just old white guys. And
we should.
I know that might get me called tokenized by some people. I'll leave unnamed, but I don't think so.
I know what you mean.
I know you know. To me, though, we can't pretend that nobody qualified ever showed up unless we go out looking for them.
Blows my mind. Mind. It's like, listen, if you're sitting at the table and there's nothing but white KKKs at your table, and you're not actively inviting other people, all you're gonna be left is with KKK people sitting at your table. And there's very qualified people that could sit at your table, but you're preferring to be like, well, I don't want to seem like I'm tokenizing, so I'm just gonna sit here with my KKKs and enjoy this KKK company. Like, come on.
Yep.
But I wanted to comment on whether Crockett or Tallarico would be good choices for president. And I think Crockett is definitely my preferred option, my number one option. But shit, like the way things are right now, it's like, do we play it safe? Because obviously Talarico is the safe one. He's a white guy. Yeah, he is a lot younger, but he's still a white guy who is a Christian. And when you have all of these Christian nationalists and all of these people who are very, even if they're not Christian nationalists, but they are conservative Christians, they are going to feel a lot safer with this white guy who is also very religious. And although Talarico is religious, I will point out that he is secular 100%. He's been fighting hard here in Texas to get the Ten Commandments out of schools, to get the Blue Bonnet curriculum out of schools, pushing back on the current attempt at mandatory Bible readings in public schools. He's been one of the number one people speaking up in Texas for people to vote against those things. And so I feel safe enough to say, if he were to be president, he would be doing the same thing. And like we continue to say, right? Like, we are not against religious people. We are against religion as a system. And so I'm okay with somebody like that in office. So I don't know, like, do we play it safe, or do we do the right fucking thing and elect a black woman?
Well, one thing that, and I agree completely with you about, the fact that him being religious not being a factor, because if I say, all right, if you're not an atheist, then I can't vote for you, then I'm just as guilty of doing the same litmus test that they want to put on people. Because the truth is, and not trying to be insulting to the religious people that I do know, and I know my terms are going to be a little insulting though. But if you want to go out and cosplay on Sundays at church, I don't have a problem with that. And the truth is, in seriousness, if you want to pray instead of meditate, my life, I shouldn't get to dictate to you, and I don't want you to dictate to me. So I shouldn't expect the same thing. But if you're willing to say, look, let's keep my religion out of government, that's all I ask. That's all I want. Look, you can be a very serious, dedicated Christian, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu. I don't care. I want you to have that right. I want you to be able to do those things. At the same time, if you're backing my right to not do any of those things and live my life unimpeded by the things that you believe, then what else can I ask for? I'm being as unreasonable as MAGAs if I want anything else. And the truth is, I'm pretty sure Crockett is probably a Christian of, some.
Probably, yeah.
I'd be shocked. But Talarico, the advantage of him being very forward with that, it does create a level of discomfort with those Christians who aren't so tied into Christian nationalism, and they go, this guy's making sense. Because at the end of the day, I went to church and we were taught to love everybody. We may have not actually done it, but that's the words that came out of people's mouths. And now we're getting to the point where when somebody like Talarico can remind people, hey, remember that love thing? Hey, remember that treating the immigrant like this? Hey, remember this and remember that? Those things, I do believe, cause people to pause and reconsider whether the path that we're heading on now is such a great idea or not. And so I see that.
He makes them start thinking about having, holding those type of views. Like, I feel 100% comfortable even knowing that he's religious. I know that he won't overstep my boundaries, basically. I feel comfortable that he won't try to push his religious beliefs onto any type of government rulings or government laws, or just putting it together. He won't try to take away my beliefs or my rights just for what he believes in, basically. Which is a huge factor. And I think a lot of people are drawn to that, maybe, and it's got a lot of people thinking, like you said, it gets those gears moving.
And Ma'am Danny is a really good example of what you were just saying, right? Like, people are out there wondering, oh, is he a Muslim? How are you gonna elect a Muslim? And I'm over here like, listen, he's promising people some pretty good basic rights, and he's doing things that are beneficial for that city. And so I don't care what his religion is. It's none of my business. If he's not going to use it in order to determine what he does as far as legislation and as far as managing the city that he's the mayor of, I don't care.
Yeah, it goes back to what freedom of religion stands for, what the U.S. was founded on. You know, everybody has the right to practice their own faith, their own belief, whether it's in a God or not, or no belief in a God. So, I mean, that is the number one thing that everyone should enjoy of living in the United States, not pushing your belief on your neighbor or on the other person. Especially involved in government and politics, and making laws and rules that regulate our lives every day.
Yeah, speaking of respecting people, did you
Give me 1 second here, if I can.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned Mondani. Recently, someone from our local humanist group here posted something that he did about hiring somebody to run the jails. I don't remember what they called it, and it's a guy who's a former. Who's spent 2 years at Rikers, did time for armed robbery, been out since the 80s. Now he's been working to help people after they get out of prison. And now Mondani hired him to run the prison, their jail system. And a lot of people are upset about it. And I'm thinking, well, this sounds like a guy who should know a thing or two about how jails work, about what can actually affect some positive change with them. Because at the end of the day, prisoners are still citizens. And they deserve a certain level of freedom and rights. And we like to pretend they don't sometimes. But, that's inhumane. And that goes into something totally different. But the humanist she was talking about how, she has trouble sometimes. And I'm going to get the words wrong, but not gushing over the things that he does because, it's like, wow, that's great. That's awesome. But then again, thinking, but this is what government should be doing in the first place. And that's really it in a nutshell. I thought that perfectly encapsulated how I feel about him, because I'm looking at the guy and I think he's an exciting change. And I'm looking forward to what this can potentially bring for him and for the party, maybe moving left. But first and foremost is the fact that with him doing just what government should be doing is something we're excited about. And that's depressing and mind-blowing there. A guy does what should be done, and we're like, wow! Not to take away from what he's doing, but goddamn, I mean, that's the way it should be, right?
Yeah, somebody says slaves are still legal as long as the slaves are criminals.
Well, as long as we have privatized prisons,
Spencer.
Privatized prisons and jails are just, I mean, it's commercialized slavery for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen things where they talk about, they'll essentially sell the prisoners out to local farms for to do work. What are you talking about? That's quite literally slavery.
It is, yeah, it's crazy. So I was saying, this made me think of, speaking of respecting people, did you all see the Trump's Black History Month proclamation that he made?
I didn't see that.
Oh wait, my bad. Never mind. It wasn't a proclamation. It was actually a video that he shared on Truth Social where
okay. That video. Okay.
Barack and Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah. In case anybody in the chat lives under a rock. He shared a video on Truth Social where Michelle Obama and Barack Obama's faces were placed on some type of ape bodies or monkeys or whatever they were. And he made the post on Thursday night, and then it was deleted on Friday. They blamed a staffer, and after they received a bunch of really strong backlash on social media and even from some Republican senators that called him out because, the blatant, racism in the image. And apparently the White House eventually admitted that it was in bad taste and they deleted it. But before that, Caroline Leavitt dismissed this. She was calling it like a fake outrage over the post, and claimed that the video had been posted by mistake, whatever the fuck that is. Like,
yeah, she said a staffer posted it. Basically, that's what she had said, right? I mean, that's what I remember her.
Yeah, and I mean, they expect you to think that Trump posts 50 freaking posts back to back overnight, all night long, and then suddenly somebody else is posting that stuff. It's like,
well, the concern with that, even if that was true, even if it was a staffer who posted it, that's even more concerning for me, because that's a national security risk to know the the staffers that have access, even though it's not the White House, Twitter or anything. This is from his Truth Social. It's still the president's account. So anything that's tweeted, well, not tweeted, anything that's truth from there is considered, it's taken, and you can say anything, and they think that's the president saying that, which is like, if anyone has access to that, anyone can make it seem like the president has this viewpoint or says this specific thing. I mean, that's a national security risk.
And then during another speech, he was like, well, I kind of saw part of it and I approved it. They showed me part of it and I approved it. Like, what? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I saw a few seconds of it. I mean, what kind of excuse is that? But you're right. The fact is that oftentimes we get announcements on Truth Social through the president. Yeah. That's almost, so while it's not his official, whatever you want to call it, presidential thing, he fires people over it. He threatens people over it. He makes public policy over it. So, yeah, essentially, if that's the case, and you're saying that anybody with the right password and access to, third-party authentication can pose as a president if they have the right information. And that's,
that's a problem.
That's a little unsettling.
It is very, very unsettling.
The truth is that I guess that we probably see more outrage over it if it wasn't the fact that right now we're busy being, concerned about American citizens being murdered in the streets, So I guess that's probably one reason people haven't made too big of a deal about it. But the truth is that we've seen the stock market drop 1,000 points or hundreds of points at least over just some idiot straight untruth. So, you could wreck
that's another thing that you could bring to attention. I mean, the way that he uses it to manipulate the stock market. And that's another whole episode of a show to discuss that.
Yeah.
We're in some crazy times. I just have to say that. Yeah. Sometimes I have to think to myself, like, is this really reality? Are we in the Twilight Zone? Have I veered off the line into another dimension, another timeline?
To use Stranger Things, we're in the upside down.
The upside down. Yes.
That's exactly what we're in.
The that prayer breakfast speech. Did you guys hear any of it? It was.
Yeah, I heard.
You mentioned it. I didn't hear it. I know you mentioned it to me this morning, but I didn't look into it.
Okay, let's see. I think I have a short clip of it. Let's see where I put it. Okay. That's the worst face.
No, I heard Bill likes it.
That's his old face from
there you go.
From Office Space.
Baba likes it. Let's see, sound. All right.
Person of faith can vote for a Democrat. I really don't. And I know we
now remember, this was a prayer breakfast.
have some here today, and I don't know why they're here, because they certainly don't give us their vote. They rigged this.
So they can only be there if they give him their vote.
Their vote.
Apparently. That's the requirement, I guess.
It.
Oh, yeah.
Second election, I had to win it. I needed it for my own ego. I would have had a bad ego for the rest of my life. Now I really have a big ego. The beating these lunatics was incredible, right? What a great feeling. And then they.
What the
That
fuck?
hurt.
Did he really say that shit? Oh
He did.
my god.
He
He
did.
did. It's like he's telling them to their face, and his supporters are like, "Oh
There's
yeah,
there's
he
like
had good
no
reason."
hiding at all. It's like completely in the light. Like he doesn't
Yep.
have any. It's like wow.
Like he doesn't give a shit about anything. All he gives a shit about is his own ego and winning all the things, whatever that means for himself. As long as he's winning it for himself, yeah.
Well, all I
Speaking
know
of
is
himself,
I want the first dance in the ballroom once it's built. Yeah, that's how that works,
Right.
right? We're all going to be invited.
yeah. When you said earlier that he was saying that people were requesting it, I was like, what people? Like the average citizen is never gonna see the inside of that ballroom ever.
Nope.
Okay. What I was gonna ask a moment ago was, did I haven't really looked into it. That Trump RX thing, is it tax funded or is it his own personal thing? Because it seems like his own personal thing, but it's posted on some of it has a .gov.
Yeah, I'm not
website.
sure on that. I haven't really looked into it, so I don't want to give incorrect
Okay.
information.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to look into it because I was wondering when I saw that earlier, and I was like, wait a minute. This
Really,
sounds like something like one of those pyramid schemes that is, running, or maybe not a pyramid scheme, but like a personal benefit that is probably under one of his kids' names or something. And he's like, well, it has my last name because like my kids do, you know?
yeah, kind of like all the people still waiting for their Trump phones that that they're supposed to get, and get your. I don't know. I don't. Whenever I hear him announce stuff like that, especially, I mean, I don't even want to look into it because I'm pretty sure it's bullshit.
Yeah,
I know that in the past, .gov used to represent it being an official government site, but the truth is that over the last year, we've seen so many things that the way it's supposed to be and the way it is. I mean, because this president just completely disregards the law. So considering how much he and his family have enriched themselves over the past year, you got to wonder, is it his ego to put his name on it, or is it something he's getting a cut of? And with him, I always presume that if he's doing it, he has an angle. He thinks that it's going to benefit him somehow.
Oh, 100%. He never does anything without some type of benefit for either him or his family or someone associated with him.
I don't think he would wipe his own ass if there wasn't a benefit to it.
We don't know that he does.
Yeah, well, he's got Mike Johnson for that. Mike Johnson can lick that shit off.
Oh man, I despise Mike Johnson.
Yeah, I mean,
Me too.
for how he shit his pants all the time, and he seems like he doesn't care.
Oh yeah, those rumors and videos are quite
Funny.
pretty funny if they are true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's watch a little bit more.
You say Donald Trump is using the Justice Department to.
The Justice Department.
I find it funny that he's trying to emulate
himself.
Yeah,
but
that's
extra.
kind of weird. Yeah, it's bad.
Get
That's the
even.
first one. Give it a
And I
moment to
don't.
sound like RFK.
Right. Yeah, it's like impersonation inception, Trump inception. He's like impersonating Trump.
Yep.
Other people speaking as Trump, but it's Trump speaking as other people speaking as Trump.
Pretty much.
Did you get it?
He did sound drunk, yeah.
No doubt.
I think he's on prescription medication. I think I don't know. He said he doesn't drink. I think he's definitely on some type of.
I
medication.
think it's prescription medication.
Yeah.
I agree because
It's
everything
probably-
indicates he really doesn't drink. But the dude's old. I mean,
Or age. It could definitely be age.
yes, it could be.
Related
definitely be
to
age.
decline. Yeah, I'm not a doctor again. No
Yep.
diagnosing anybody, but mental decline in older age is a thing.
But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express. Does that count?
Did you get the discount? Yeah.
Of course.
but wouldn't I have a right to? You know, Mike Johnson's.
Oh, he was saying, people say I use the Department of Defense to my benefit, but I don't. But I should have the right to, or something like that.
A very religious person, that he does not hide it. He'll say to me sometimes at lunch, "Sir, may we pray?" I say, "Excuse me? We're having lunch, you know, deal." But we worked hard at getting rid of.
And then people are like, "Oh, he's been given to us by God."
That's Cyrus.
Prayer, fuck you.
They believe he's the modern day King Cyrus.
Oh yeah, I've heard all of that crazy. Okay, Jesse Riverbanks is like, this is real life. Yeah,
Unfortunately,
it is.
yeah,
it is. I don't know. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, is it? What is he gonna do today?
The Johnson Amendment, it's gone as far as you can say anything you want. Now, if you do say something bad about Trump, I will change my mind and I will have your tax-exempt status immediately revoked.
See, what is that? Oh God, it's like he's blatantly just,
like, side with me or else.
Yeah,
blatantly.
I mean, to be fair, that does sound godly. That does sound like God.
Yeah, that is a fair point. That does sound rather like God. Having said that, the more I'm listening to this, I'm looking at them and I'm reminded of the end of the book Animal Farm, where the animals are looking in and they can't tell the difference between the pigs and the humans. And I'm looking and I'm listening to Donald Trump and I'm like, Kim Jong-un? Is that who
I'm getting those vibes too.
Yeah, because
feel those vibes from that.
Follow me.
Yeah.
Are you, or else.
It feels like complete dictator mode. I mean, for sure. I mean, he's wow.
Yeah,
I completely
that's
missed
fair.
this.
Jesse Riverbank says the God of the Old Testament was a petty bitch.
A petty, dramatic bitch. I mean, think about it. The whole I'm going to overreact and drown everybody on the planet because I got butt hurt and I got my feelings hurt. So I'm going to kill everybody. Yeah. Yahweh was a drama queen all the way.
That is the problem I have with a little bit with progressive Christians. I think we need to join forces for sure, and I respect the belief. But sometimes when I hear people saying things like, "Well, but Jesus said," and then you read the story and it's supposed to be, Jesus said, love thy neighbor and all of the good things and the immigrants and all that. Sure. But Jesus was supposed to be the God of the Old Testament. And a lot of Christians that I know have not read the Old Testament. So how do you know God? How do you know God if you have not read the Old Testament? And Jesus is the Son of God and God Himself. So He is the God of the Old Testament, or at least partly. I don't know. So how do you how do you do that in your mind to separate the two? Like, people need to stop separating the two. They are one and the same.
AJ, have you ever gone to cafeteria before?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll pick a little bit of this that I like, and I'll take a little bit of that. Yeah, I'll take, but no, none of that Old Testament God. That does not look tasteful. That does not look good at all. I'll leave that at the counter, and that's really what they do. And I agree with you though, because oftentimes I'll see, and it's that uncomfortable alliance with progressive Christians, because at the end of the day, I look at it and I can't help but look at them and say, get your fucking house in order. Get your shit together. If you're a Christian, then stand up against these people.
Call them out. Call the nationalists out.
Call them out. Quit, playing this game of, well, I don't want to take a position. Christianity in this country has already taken a position. So either you can take that position back from them and make it something that we can all live with, or you're tacitly approving Christian nationalism. And that's where that gets uncomfortable for me, because I feel like you're giving them quarter. You're giving them legitimacy because, you know, I'm not a bad person. I don't want to do these things. I don't want to harm immigrants. Well, when you say those things, and I'm a Christian, and you push back against the dominance of Christian nationalism as if it doesn't exist, you're enabling them. And Christians have to stop. Get your own shit together. Get your house in order and get the Christians. Get those Christian nationalists out. Start calling them out. Quit letting them get away, in your circle at least, at calling themselves Christians, because you don't think they're living up to what your Jesus said. So call them out on it. And that's one thing I really hope to see them do.
Yeah, because being silent about it and just letting it be means that, I mean, basically being silent on an issue like that is basically supporting it.
It's
You're allowing it. You're allowing it.
Tacit approval. Absolutely. It's kind of like you were talking about earlier about the dinner table, you know, sitting with, you know, 10 KKK members. It reminded me of an old joke where it's like, what do you call 9 people sitting at a table with a Nazi? You call it 10 Nazis having dinner. You know, because at the end of the day, if you're sitting at the table and saying, okay, this is all right, well, that's what you are too. And that's how I feel with these Christians who want to not take a position. If there's ever a time for the Christians, because there are Christians who are not happy with this. I had a Christian family show up at one of our humanist events a while back. And the bottom line is, look, we need Christians who are going to stand up against it. But don't stand up against it when you're with me. Stand up against it when you're with the other Christians. Push back on them, because they're the ones that need it. I'm already in your camp. If you tell me how horrible Christian nationalists are, you're preaching to the goddamn choir. As far as I'm concerned, they're a bunch of fascists, and, you know, I'm just waiting for Nuremberg 2.0. But push back against them now is the thing that I really hope that these Christians who are in the middle wake up and finally do.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, for sure. Let's keep watching this thing.
Robert Jeffress was on television. He said, I know every candidate very well, and I know Trump a little bit. He may not be as good with the Bible as some of them. He may not have read the Bible as much as some of them. In fact, he may not have ever read the Bible.
He's telling facts, right? I think he's telling facts there.
Well, everybody remembers 2 Corinthians. You remember that when he did that?
No,
This is early. He was running, and he was at some, I want to say it was Liberty University. Yeah. It's at a Christian university. You know, and he's like, whoa, in 2 Corinthians, you know, instead of 2 Corinthians, he called it 2 Corinthians. And the crowd actually laughed because, you know, that's such a rookie fucking mistake. 2 Corinthians.
That's very different. That's 2 of them, not the second.
Yeah.
I have a question. The piano music or the music playing, was that playing live, like while he's making the speech?
I don't know. It might have been
or was
added.
Oh, okay.
By that
It would.
channel.
It
Okay,
wouldn't
yeah.
surprise me if it, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe they were trying to make him seem like a prophet or something.
Well, yeah, it almost felt like we were going to get like a call to the front so everybody can come up and pray or something.
Yeah, he's gonna put his hand on their head and
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
feel
there we go.
Yeah, feel the Holy
we'll
Spirit.
see him slain in the spirit. He'll go. What was it? What was that clown's name on? Benny Hinn. That was it. Yeah.
Oh, Benny Hinn. Oh gosh.
Yeah. You go pull a Benny Hinn on people.
Yeah. He was the faith healer, right? Yeah.
The scriptures always tell us that blessed are the pure in heart. I don't know if that applies to me necessarily. I'm not so sure. I was just talking
I am sure it does not. You don't have to be sure. I know.
to a great leader from El Salvador, and he said, man, that was some attack. I've never seen anything like that one, right? Some of you have seen he operates rather large prisons, like prisons that's so large you can't see from one side to the other unless you have perfect 20/20 eyesight with binoculars. That's how long and big. You know, this is a religious breakfast. You're going to walk away and say, he's the meanest son of a gun I've ever seen.
Oh, I don't know what to even think about that. But
That
anytime you're
whole thing
bragging
was
about the
unhinged.
size of your prisons, you've lost the plot somewhere. Wow.
Oh yeah. It's I don't know what to think about that one either.
I mean, 2020
No.
vision with binoculars too. What kind of statement is
No.
that
Yeah.
even? What the hell is he talking about? It's like
I don't
Well, I
know.
mean, he doesn't usually know what he's talking about, so I guess we really shouldn't figure it out.
don't think too hard about it, right? Don't look into it too deep.
Wait, who did he say from Argentina?
No, he was
Benny
talking
Hinn?
about no. Who's from
I'm
Argentina?
confused.
No, I don't know what
We'll see.
Damien's
Okay,
talking about.
anyways, Jesse said that speech was nauseating. Yeah, it was. And this is something I ask myself all the fucking time. Like, how can anyone, just another band says, band or bond? I can't say.
Bond.
Okay. How can anyone listen to this man talk and think, hey, yeah, this is who I want to represent me? And it's like, what? How do you listen to someone ramble like that and go on and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go vote for that dude. He speaks really well. Well, it's just like, yeah, I guess the point is that, right? He speaks like them. He appeals to that demographic that is so uneducated that they feel represented by him. And it does make you wonder, because I'm pretty sure he's spoken this way all his life. I don't know. I didn't used to listen to him speak before, so I don't know if he did or not. But is it a persona that he puts out, or is he truly that fucking dumb?
No, he's truly that dumb.
Yeah, I think he.
Okay.
He really is. It's not an act. And yeah, like Spencer asked, how do people say, yeah, that's my guy. That's the guy I want to vote for. I have no idea. I would be embarrassed. I mean, in fact, if I ran across this guy, this guy is a good reason to leave the party early. You know, not to stick around, but when he shows up, all right, I just realized I had an emergency, something at home. I think I left the burner on. Anything. I wouldn't even want to be in the same room with the guy, much less say, yeah, this is the guy I want to represent me to literally the entire world as our leader. What an embarrassment.
Yeah, I really miss having leadership that can speak to the population and actually connect and actually put sentences together that mean something or meaningful to to the subject that they're speaking on.
And that's the difference that he had with Bush, right? Like, Bush had terrible policies. Like, his politics were bad, but the guy could put two sentences together.
Barely, but yeah, he
could.
A
He
few,
wasn't great about
sometimes, except for you
always
can fool me once.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He completely mangled that expression. That was just such typical Bushism.
I had it on a T-shirt in high school when I met Joe. Yeah, I still have it.
And his fuzzy math, he couldn't math very well either. Fuzzy math.
Yeah,
I had a shirt. I had a shirt during the Bush administration, and I remember I was living in Texas. I was living in Austin at the time, and it had a big picture of Bush on it and Osama bin Laden next to him, and it had in big letters above it, "Evildoers," and then under it, "Make no mistake about it," because evildoers was his thing, and I wanted to make sure that people understood. Yeah, both of them are evil doing pieces of shit. I remember one time I was in a grocery store and with Rachel, and this guy turned the corner and he had a flag on his little motorized cart he was in, and he's rolling up and he's looking at my shirt, and Rachel's thinking, oh shit, this is not going to go well. And the dude said loudly, "Evildoers," and he looked at it. And then he just started going off on a rant on how much he hated George Bush. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right. because it really would look bad getting into a fight with some guy in a motorized car. It's just not a good look. You lose either way, So it's kind of like the guy who got beat up by the girl in Buda. When you attack a girl, you just look bad either way. You can't win. But yeah, it was a good thing.
Yeah, the evildoers and the axis of evil is like.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember those days. The Bush administration was one of the main reasons that I got into politics and protesting and getting involved in local groups and so forth. So I mean, I got a lot of history with that too. I'm a little. I think you're a little bit older than me, but
I'm a lot older than you.
Yeah, but I remember all that stuff.
Yeah, I would have to say that during Bush's first term during that time is where I finally made the break from religion entirely. So that, I think that combined with my frustration about what I was seeing going on with the Bush administration were two of those things that really got me kicked into high gear and started that veer further to the left, because at that point I realized that this is all garbage. I don't want to have anything to do with those.
It's kind of, I mean, I guess it is true. History repeats itself. I mean, we go through cycles, over and over, and it kind of we never learn from our mistakes, it seems.
Well, they're working on making sure we don't. They're making sure we don't learn history.
Yeah.
And the truth is that, we look at that and think of that as a now thing, but the truth is that's not something new. I mean, let's be realistic about when I look about what I learned about history. I look at what I learned in history class growing up, and 90% of it is a lie. I never heard, things like the Tulsa massacre and all these different things that should be, these are practically 20th century. These aren't that long ago. And we've just completely forgotten those things. Forget the fact that, this country would have never become the country it had if it wasn't off the backs of slave labor. And when we start thinking that slavery was something that was taught as being, it's something bad, and we got rid of it and figured it out, but we never talk about the impact of how much of an impact it had on building this nation. We wouldn't be the United States without that gross capitalism taking advantage of that. So when it comes down to it, history is something that the government has always had a vested interest in lying to us and giving us a whitewashed version of. Right now, it just happens to be that, they've amped that up. They've exponentially increased that. And of course, now they want to kill the public school system in this country and make a compliable workforce.
Yeah, dismantling public education. I mean, that's a key part of their agenda.
Yep.
That's the part where they're like, let's make America great again. And what they mean is, let's make America what it used to be a long, long time ago, before, slavery was abolished, then, when we had segregation, and when public education was created specifically to create that compliant workforce. And we still have the same educational system that we did back then. We've never reformed it. So it's what it's still doing. It's still pushing out mass numbers of compliant workforce.
Yeah, we created a system where we got people in a routine to get them used to going to a workforce in an industrial environment, and that's, unfortunately our educational system hasn't improved. It's only gotten worse. So from bad to worse. Well, I guess we said we wanted change. I guess we should have said what kind of change we wanted, huh?
Yeah. Jesse Riverbank said that George Carlin said the system will always try to create obedient workers because it was created to do that. Horace Mann was the person, he was an old tycoon from Texas who was the very first one that started funding public education. because he wanted workers for his oil industry, right? Like all of his, and that helped him get richer. Public education helped him get richer, and that's what he's continuing to do, is making other people rich because they pay you a few coins to do the basic stuff and just be obedient worker and
Yep.
work your 9 to 5.
Well, that's why Trump says he loves the uneducated.
Yes.
Yes,
And-
that's the point.
And it blows my mind how they cheer that.
Yeah.
I love the uneducated. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just listen. He
Yeah.
just called you uneducated. Come on. Put 2 and 2 together. Well, you know what? I guess it takes a little bit of education to put 2 and 2 together. Huh?
To understand that
That's
you are the uneducated.
Yeah, it's you.
Well, that's a fair point. Okay. Do we have any more topics before I bring up a couple of advertising stuff?
No, go ahead. Let it roll.
Okay, real quick. We'll do some closing thoughts after this. But first of all, what are you doing these days? Like you're working with Cynthia's page, right?
Yes, Cynthia and I have been working on a show, The Roots Matter. We've had you on it, and a few other people that you and I know, and some other people as well. One of our focuses has really been trying to focus on that grassroots aspect that we've talked about and touched on here, because it really is where everything gets started. You know, everybody can have big ideas and big dreams and big visions, and they can say things on a national level. But the truth is that things don't get done that way. Things get done on that local level. Things get done on a far more basic level. And a lot of times that doesn't get the focus because it's not, glamorous. It's not pretty. It's not all those things. And those are the kind of conversations that Cynthia is having with people about, how to do those type of things and where people are and what's working for them as far as what they're doing at that time. So I think things are going along nicely, and I'm really excited to see where things go forward. It's an unsettling but exciting time.
Yeah, I had fun when you guys did the first episode. You invited me, and that was a really good conversation. I look forward to going back and maybe doing a show with you and that.
I think that probably this month we're doing just shows for every week. Normally do every other week. I'm thinking maybe hosting a show on one of those off weeks, and if I do, I'll make sure you're my first guest if you're available.
You had already promised me that, so there's no takesy backsies now.
Oh yeah, well definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah. You will have to put up with me, so suck it.
I have to say that I won't deny that on the nonprofits, when I had input in the scheduling, I definitely look to make sure that you're on the show as often as possible when I was on it, because it just, I knew it was going to be a good show. I knew that it's going to get good input. In spite of all the negative things I say about you, you're really
everybody knows.
Okay. Kind of okay.
I hate you and you hate me. They know it. So
okay, relationship.
Yeah, you heard it here. No, it's just hate, Joseph.
Hate. Okay,
hate. Be consistent.
Right. I know hate like Christian love, So we gotta. I guess ain't no hate like atheist love. I don't know. However you gonna put it. Anyways.
Monster Mom said y'all need to hug it out. Hug it out, guys.
There you go. Hug.
Well, you know what? If you guys come visit, I'll give both of you a hug. There you go.
All right, I'm down.
There you go.
Yeah. Eli said, keep hugging all the age. That's funny. So I have some stuff coming up too. Well, Helen's fundraiser is next Friday. She had surgery yesterday, and she's been out of work because of that. Her husband doesn't have a job currently. He just got hired, but once you get started, you're not getting paid like the first day, obviously. Yeah. So they needed a little bit of help financially to like support, because they also had quite a bit first up front for the surgery. So we're doing a fundraiser. It's February 13th, and it's going to start at 5 p.m. Central. And Ember is hosting it on her channel, Better Than Ember. And so we are both going to co-host and have a bunch of really cool people there. And it's going to be like a Friday the 13th, Valentine's Bash type thing. So that's going to be very fun. Next one, I have some shows coming up. Let me see. Pull up this so I can show. So I've been doing a bunch of shows on Skeptic Haven. So everybody go subscribe right here, Skeptic Haven on YouTube. And so what is this? February 22nd, Ember is going to be on with Justin. Then the week before that, the 15th, is going to be Neil, the 604 atheist, and myself. And tomorrow night, there's 2 people already waiting. Yay. Tomorrow night, we are going to have J.L. Warren from Bridge the Divide. He does really good debates. So I'm looking forward to that. And if you want to check out last weekend's show, I was on with Professor Dave. So that's been pretty fun. And speaking of that, we are going to have a new show, which is going to start on February 19th, that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, with Seth Andrews. And it's going to be called Critical Call. It's a call-in show. We're trying to do like sciencey topics, but not necessarily super specific to that. Like it can be about anything. So it's going to be very fun. Okay. That is all that for that part. Do we want to keep bitching about Trump? Or do we make a whole other episode about it? Because there's probably a lot left to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot left to talk to. And I am more than happy to show up if you guys are willing to have me again. Yeah, we've been doing this for about 2.5 hours. And I know that the rest of the people in the house are getting restless, but it looks like they're in the middle of designing some new protest signs. So they are using their time wisely.
Nice.
I love that because we have to keep fighting. We have to keep standing up and speaking proudly, loudly. Don't be silent. Silence is the enemy, like Queen Day says. That's always my sign. I have it right here.
You probably have it right there. Yeah, I was going to say.
This is my protest sign that I always have. Silence is the enemy.
Well, I will say that, and also, if you don't have a local group in your area of people who feel the same way and like-minded with you, start one. I went to one of the reddest spots in the state, and I managed to find people. So I'm pretty sure they're everywhere.
They're out there. That's very true.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
You just have to, if you build it, they will come.
Well, all bullshit aside, you know what started it? I saw some church post on a Facebook group, and I'm like, damn, if those motherfuckers can post, then I'll post something. So I sat and thought about it and posted, and well, that was it.
They can be mad about it if they want to.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Even if it's a group of 10,000 people and you get a group of 5 or 6 that come regularly, then you already have it. There it is. That's your people right there. So
well, that's one of the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was just say that's one of the things when I see people online, like if you see a protest like in a little small town and there's like maybe 6 people in the corner, and you always see comments saying, "Oh, look, it's only 6 people that showed up out of 10,000 people that live in the city." It's like, so what? That's 6 people that had the guts to get out there and speak, for what they stand for, and not be silent, and actually show that they want to be on the right side of history.
Absolutely. And I will say that, through this group, early in it, when there's just a few of us, not many people, just, kind of 1 or 2, 3 consistently showing up. I told Rachel, I said, well, if all that happens out of this is that I meet Spencer and that was it, it's worth it right there. Spencer's really a good guy. And, now I've been able to add to that list. So Nani another great person, Cynthia, not Cynthia McDonald, another
Oh,
Cynthia.
okay.
And I mean, all these people, and then I feel like that if everything never grew, another, you know, among the, you know, 10 or 15 people that, you know, may or show up, not show up consistently. If it's just 2 or 3, it was a win. You know, I've gotten more than what I expected when I sarcastically like an asshole threw up a post. So it's a win.
No, that's the thing, right? Like even us, when I came into the atheist community, I was like, I wasn't expecting to meet so many people that then I would go on to meet in person and be like, you see them face to face and you already want to give them a hug because they're like, you're cool.
Yeah.
Let's not lose touch. And speaking of community and stuff, we are already plotting in the chat because Prophet of Error is Eli, right? You work with Eli and when I heard what. And Monster Smiles is Joe's cousin.
Third cousin. Make sure you clarify.
Third cousin. Gotta be very specific. Look, here's an interesting story. When I first started talking to him more regularly, we will talk about religion, and he was very adamant that he was a Christian. I once accidentally thought that he was Catholic, and he got very mad at me. And very recently, like we've had tons of very, very respectful, very deep conversations about religion, about politics, and we are all very much on the same side, on the same page about issues and stuff. And very recently, he's like, well, I don't think I can call myself a Christian anymore. He's like, I believe in a God, but I'm not religious anymore. I'm not a Christian anymore. And I was like, so proud of like, and that's the thing, right? Like, I don't care about whether he believes in a God or a creator or an afterlife and all of that. Like, that's cool. That's who you are. But all of us are here fighting against the same monster that is fascism and hate. And that's what you got to do. You got to stick together and continue the fight. And so we've organized, all that to say that we've organized, we are going to do a show with you, and you can't say no. I'm sorry, but like, fuck you. And both of them, Eli and Monster Smiles. So we're going to do a political show because we already, they've been agreeing the whole show in the chat. I'm sure you're watching some of it.
Well, I'm in.
Yeah, he's been on our show before. We've done political topics for Project 2025. We did a whole show on that before the elections. Like, we predicted all this shit, and it's all come to fruition. Yeah. We tried to warn everybody. We tried to tell everybody. Nobody would listen.
All you had to do was read it.
Yeah, nobody would listen. I don't understand.
Like, we have a conservative family member that didn't even know what Project 2025 was. And I was like, it's literally all over. Literally everywhere.
What
like,
rock do you under?
Yeah. And I'm like, you're going to go vote, and you don't know what this is. How are you going to have an educated vote, an informed vote?
And then you have the people that said, oh, but Trump says he doesn't even know what that is. He's not associated with that. It's like, fuck you.
Well, one thing that I want to be very clear about is that I'm okay with being on a show with a lot of people, but one thing that I will not cross the line of is I will not be on a show with giraffes. Sorry. Eli will get that.
Is that about...
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that about Bobby? Like, I don't think it's Bobby Roach.
It's an inside joke. We were talking one time, and I don't remember how giraffes came up, but we started talking about how, giraffes probably look down on people with their puny little necks and start neck shaming us and all that. So, yeah, I just got to shit talk those giraffes anytime I get an opportunity to. No giraffes. Giraffe-free zone.
I have a whole new perspective on giraffes now after you brought that up. It's like,
you know, if ICE wanted to deport the giraffes, maybe I could get behind that. You know, let's redirect them to the zoos.
I will. But so I think you will get a kick out of. I don't know if you know that content creator Bobby Roadsteamer.
Oh, I love him.
Infidel, do you know him or not?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, he
he's
does
the
wear
one
the
that,
draft. Yeah.
yeah, like a couple of days ago, he got arrested by ICE for protesting in the giraffe costume. So they're like, they're arresting the giraffes, and he was just
He's
talking
funny
about
as
that.
hell.
I
Even
love
though
it
he
so
isn't
much.
even though he is representing giraffes, I give him the buy on that. It's like, you know what? I'll be like, you know, you're a biological man, not a giraffe.
Identifying.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I saw a video of him. He was talking about telling people how they, if you ever get arrested by ICE for protesting, if they drag you in, he said his tactics that he was able to get released like pretty quickly right away is start telling them that you want them. He said he was telling them he wanted them to spank him and you know, be aggressive with him and shove their batons up his ass. And he said they were all like, "Whoa!" He said that they got him out of there real quick.
Goodness.
Like, you know, I guess that's kind of like, you know, and I found out that, you know, caning was one of the default punishments in Singapore. I'm like, oh, they do that for free? You got
What do I
ICE
say
for that
now?
here.
Where does the line start?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So I
Sign me
guess
up.
an option is, I mean, Singapore is a good ways away. Think of all the creative things ICE can do. Come on, ICE, come arrest me.
Right? I mean, they're so scared of gay people and trans
Oh, yeah.
people and anything that isn't a cis straight woman. That they'll flip out if you do any of that.
And
Oh,
always
my
remember, when you go to protest, wear white underwear, because most jails will take your underwear away if it's not white. So just remember.
Hey, very
You
good.
told me about that, and I was like, "You're bullshitting me," and I
No.
looked it up, and it
No,
was
that is
true.
true. That
Yeah,
is
I
true.
know it's
Yeah.
true. I've
I
been
was
arrested
like-
without white underwear before.
Yeah, like I don't get the reason, but I
Well,
didn't look into that.
I think it's primarily because in their washing, they just throw them on. If they have mixed colors, it creates more of a problem. Whereas if they just have all white, you know, well, maybe some white and some brown stains, it comes out white at the end, you know. No, you can't wear your favorite red thong.
Not allowed. Not allowed. That's so funny. All right, what is your exit message for this?
Well, I've got to say that, you know, I've really enjoyed being here, but most importantly, as we've talked about, you know, this is about resisting. This is about resisting, but not only resisting, this is about resisting in a way that keeps your own mental health, because it doesn't do anybody any good for you to go down that rabbit hole and doom scroll and just feed yourself a constant diet of negativity, because it will get to you. I don't care how mentally strong you are or think you are. All those things are not relevant. You need those points. So find that support, whether it's local, whether that's not available and you're not comfortable starting something, then find that online community, because it's important to have support in times like these. Because yes, we need to protest, we need to stand out against these things, but we also need to remind ourselves that we're all together in this together, and that we can support each other and find something on the other end of this that's a hell of a lot better than where we're sitting at now.
That was, I couldn't agree any more, and I couldn't have said it any better. But I had a question. Speaking of protesting, and you know, people are always complaining about celebrities getting political and all that stuff. Are you watching tomorrow, Bad Bunny?
You know, I gave up football. I was a Saints fan, and I always said that the day I quit being a Saints fan, I would quit watching the NFL.
Really?
And about a year and a half ago, it came out that the Saints organization was giving advice to the local Catholic archdiocese on how to handle a case where Newspapers were writing about sex abuse and trying to squash those articles and things like that. And for me, even as a lifelong Saints fan, I just can't excuse that type of viewpoint. So when you put yourself in the pedophile camp, I'm done. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's hard for me to understand why we see these people continually defending pedophiles. Because look, once they get into that boat, you're done. You should be done. It's an easy choice. And so for me, no, I won't be watching the game. I will try to catch the halftime show because
I mean, I don't watch it anyways. I was just gonna watch Bad Bunny, but only because it pisses off the Republicans. That's
precisely. You know, turning point with their crap. You know, so that's my motivation for watching. You know, or we could all just watch Kid Rock, right?
No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. I've heard that he might wear a dress. I hope he does, because that would piss them the fuck off.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Green Day is doing the opening act, and so obviously I'm gonna be watching that because you know.
Oh, you're a Green Day fan? Yeah.
But I saw them. They did a show literally yesterday, and they changed up some of the lyrics and stuff. And you know, on Holiday, where they would say so and so is taking the stage, and they changed it to the what was the exact wording? The fuck, I wish I could remember. But it had to do with Epstein. The Epstein Island leader.
Yeah, it was something.
Has the floor. Yeah, it has the floor, and I so hope that they will say, "Fuck it, I don't care if we ever get invited back," and like go.
They're definitely gonna do something that's like gonna piss everybody off, and they're gonna get probably a FCC fine. I'm assuming.
What blows my mind about people though is groups like Green Day and Rage Against the Machine. They're like, when do these groups get so woke? It's like, have you never listened to the lyrics? What were you doing the whole time? They always were.
Yeah.
Like literally, they have an entire fucking album called American Idiot.
Yeah.
Yes.
That they did for Bush.
Yep.
So hello.
Yeah.
You know, and Know Your Enemy. There's like so many freaking protest songs by Green Day. And speaking of that, if we don't have anything else, I will play again the little intro that I made as the outro because we are protesting today, and I love that little clip.
Yeah, it was a good clip.
Yeah. All right.
Definitely
well, what's that?
I said definitely worth replaying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's an intro, so it's going to do the countdown, but we'll do the countdown for and then the
We'll
show.
ignore
Whatever.
that part.
I don't give a shit.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're protesting outros today. We're doing an intro as an outro as a protest for the outros. Okay,
There you go.
That's how we do. Okay, Infidel, it was awesome having you, and
It was great having you on for sure.
yeah, catching up. You cheered me up. So
Yeah, it was a pleasure being here, and I need to do this more often. So
you do. I'm gonna force you.
there you go.
You don't have an option anymore. Okay.
Stuck now.
All right, everybody, go subscribe to The Roots Matter and also to Skeptic Haven because you're gonna see a lot more of me over there. And yeah, here we go with protesting again. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Finding better ways to human.
Till next time.
No gang, no fascist USA. No Trump, no gang, no fascist USA. Do you wanna be an American idiot? One nation controlled by the media. Information ain't Travis says. Fuck you, Donald Trump!